Rap duos in hip-hop can be legendary, but more often than not, they don't last. Betrayals, fall-offs, or silent splits, something always gets in the way, which leads to the questions: why do they break up, how does it happen, and most of all, where are they now? I'm Rashad Fashir, and this is Where Are Rap's Abandoned Duos today. Of course, speaking of the most iconic rap duos of the last decade, we can't forget Drake and Future. At their peak, these two broke records, topped the charts, and even toured the world together. But while their chemistry seemed undeniable, behind the scenes, it was a different story. So what really happened between Drake and Future? Well, even back then, there was already tension. See, it all began in 2011. At the time, Future was heating up in the Atlanta trap scene with banging mixtapes, and his breakout hit Tony Montana was picking up serious heat. And as we all know, Drake loves to hop on anything that's popping. So he reached out to Future to get on a remix. And with Drake's fame at the time, it gave Future his first real look at the mainstream. Unfortunately, it wasn't all love. See, even from the start, there was already tension. In an interview, Future revealed that many people from Atlanta felt slighted that Drake was the one to jump on the remix instead of someone local. And to make things worse, Drake didn't even bother to appear in the Tony Montana music video, which Future felt was like a slap in the face.
So many people from Atlanta wanted to get on this song, and it's just like basically a slap in my face, because they like, you should have did it for somebody from Atlanta who was going to get in the video, who wanted to be part of your video.
But despite that rocky start, the two continued to work together in 2013. I mean, they were clearly a good duo. So they linked up again for Love Me, this time with Drake's mentor, Lil Wayne. On the other hand, Drake would also be featured on Future's So Real. However, once again, things took a turn for the worse that year. Future recalled how Drake bought him a bottle of alcohol while playing Started From the Bottom. Here's the catch. Future, half-jokingly, claimed he had inspired the hook for the song and said he'd rather get publishing rights than a bottle of liquor.
So when we was at the studio, Drake came by the studio, and I always tell my engineer, started from the bottom. So when I put the beats on, I was like, man, put the beats in. So I always said, started from the bottom. And he telling me this story. He bought me a bottle of Louis XIII that I never opened up.
Wow.
Because of this story, and I'm like, man, I want a bottle, I need publishing.
And that moment could have passed as playful banter until a Billboard interview with Future dropped. In the interview, Future reportedly said, Drake made an album that's full of hits, but it doesn't grab you. They're not possessive. They don't make you feel the way I do. On top of that, the reporter also tweeted that Future claimed, I've been on the songs of all these rappers that put out an album, and my music is still better. Future would later claim that he was misquoted and expressed disappointment at the interview, tweeting, respect to Billboard, disappointed on being misquoted, always love for my fam Drizzy Drake. He and his team tried to do damage control immediately as they tried to tell Billboard to remove his statements.
I was like, man, he got a great album. I was like, Drake a dope artist, he a dope writer. I said so many good things about him. They didn't put that in the interview though.
Unfortunately though, the damage was already done. Page 6 reported that Drake was so angry that he demanded Future be removed from his Would You Like a Tour lineup. However, things got even more heated when reports surfaced that Future was about to file a $1.5 million lawsuit against Drake for lost wages. See, missing out on this tour was a huge blow, as this would have been Future's first major tour, with each show earning him $40,000. But somehow, despite all the drama, by 2014, the two had made peace once again. So once they patched things up, Drake appeared on Never Satisfied from Future's Honest, and in 2015, their bond seemed tighter than ever.
When I show up there, he just has like a different album done. He has like a different set of like 10 incredible songs to play. And you know, for somebody, you know, me, I take a lot of time to make music, you know, and you know, so for me, it inspires me.
Drake showed up to Future's Dirty Sprite 2 for Where You At, and this time, he appeared in the music video. And in just 6 days, they reportedly recorded What a Time to Be Alive.
And then like, at the height of it being hot, like to come together.
Yeah, that really hasn't happened, like just at the peak of...
The album debuted at #1, drawing comparisons to Watch the Throne by Jay-Z and Kanye West. And this time, Future was on the tour, which grossed $84 million, a record in hip-hop at the time. Then, from 2015 to 2020, the duo couldn't stop making hits. Back in 2021, Drake dropped Certified Lover Boy, which also included a feature from Future in Way Too Sexy, which is surprisingly his first ever #1 hit on Billboard. And at least on the surface, things appeared solid. They were spotted together at each other's shows, partying at clubs, and posting each other on social media. However, this achievement would later become part of Drake's ammunition when he went to war with Pluto. Because today, Drake publicly claims that he had to put his first #1 in his hands. See, by 2022, cracks were already starting to form in their relationship. Future released I Never Liked You, which featured 2 Drake collaborations, I'm On One and Wait For You. And Wait For You was another massive hit. In fact, it even went on to win a Grammy and give Future his second #1. Sadly though, tensions between the two were noticeable this time, because despite its success, Drake and Future didn't even promote the song. They never performed it together, and they didn't even bother shooting a music video for it. And by that point, fans were starting to lose hope that a second collab was even possible between the two. And you know what? Fans were right. See, just a year after Certified Lover Boy, Drake released a full-length collab album called Her Loss. However, this time, it wasn't with Future. Instead, Drake teamed up with 21 Savage. The move shocked fans, and according to industry rumors, Future felt slighted. Though Future himself had done a collab album with other rappers, the fact that the duo previously teased What a Time to Be Alive 2 back in 2019 made the situation sting a little more.
What's that? We gotta cook that up. That too.
It's already cooked. Top secret.
Yeah. My brother.
Top secret.
FBGOVO.
But what probably hurt him the most was that Drake chose another Atlanta rapper for this joint album. According to one of the biggest voices in hip-hop media, DJ Academics, this whole Drake and Future fiasco came at a time when Drake had just come off of his beef with Meek Mill. And if you remember this beef, Meek was attacking Drake's credibility and street cred. And those issues, a lot of people were like, this is a soft dude beefing with a street guy. He needed a cosign from the streets, right? That cosign was Atlanta. That cosign was Future. And according to Academics, the real reason was, if you're gonna come back to do one with an Atlanta rapper, a street rapper years later, why do you go with Savage? Why don't you go with him? And as the days progressed, these whispers of tension became louder and louder. In fact, even Joe Budden had a reason to believe that Future was indeed upset about the whole situation.
I got it being true too. I have it being true. I got it being true. Now, I'm not saying he's throwing a temper tantrum in his fucking new 8-figure house.
He ain't saying like fuck.
But I think he looked at his phone with one of those mean faces.
However, Academics added that there were some other rumors as to why this beef began, stating, he always felt a way about that. Right now, of course, there's internet like gossip saying there's women in between them. That's a little bit more far-fetched. However, even if it was far-fetched, fans quickly dove into these rumors to find out for themselves, and what they found was shocking. See, there was one theory that Drake and Future had been involved with the same woman. The internet even pointed to an Instagram model named Diana, who went by Princess Diana online, but she quickly shut the rumors down.
Nobody's beefing over me. I'm not that important. I'm just a regular girl. I'm just a regular person. It ain't about me.
However, Metro Boomin would also be the one to shut down these theories personally, calling it fan-made drama. But if the beef wasn't about a woman, then what was it? You see, fans were confused as to why their favorite duo had stopped making bangers together. Theories and speculation flooded the internet, with many fans saying that it was just over a girl once again. For instance, one fan wrote, I think it's probably over a girl or what you're saying. I feel like What Would Pluto Do was supposed to have him on it, and it became a song where Drake was thinking about Future, like look up to you in a way, but Future didn't reciprocate the appreciation. However, some fans felt like this was kind of a reach and didn't believe the theories at all. Lol, Future doesn't appear on one Drake project and you kids start talking crazy. I mean, maybe this was just a one-time thing. Maybe he would be on Drake's next project, right? Well, another year passed and Drake dropped For All the Dogs, a 29-track album with features from 21 Savage, J. Cole, Yeat, Chief Keef, and others. Notice who's absent again? Yep, once again, Future wasn't invited. Worse, Future didn't promote the album at all. Typically, when your friends drop a new project, you go out of your way to share a tweet or an Instagram story, but for Future, he didn't. And from then on, it was clear that the duo had fallen apart. However, no fan expected what would happen the following year. You see, in March of 2024, Future and Metro Boomin teamed up for the album We Don't Trust You, which felt like an open declaration of war against Drake. Future's lyrics on the opening track shed light on their ongoing beef, rapping, "You a guy's #1 fan, dog, sneak dissing, I don't understand, dog." On top of that, Future most likely confirmed the rumors that they were also fighting about a woman when he rapped, "Pillow talking, acting like a fed, I don't need another fake friend, dog, can't be about a hoe, cause we sharing." These lines were aimed directly at Drake, and it confirmed what fans had long suspected. Kanye West even chimed in on the situation, pointing out how Drake rarely does outright diss track. Instead, he prefers subtle setups and indirect shots.
It's like an outright diss song where it's a headshot. He's gonna set it up like war. You know what I'm saying?
Calculated and strategy.
Yeah,
But that wasn't all of Drake's tactics. In fact, according to Kanye,
he's gonna like go and, DM every single girl in your family, every single girl around your family, everybody, all your girl, he's gonna.
So fans started digging through old Drake lyrics, particularly from Her Loss. For instance, on Drake's song More M's, the only Metro Boomin produced track on the album, Drake rapped, "They ain't got love for the boy, so they fake it. Crack a couple jokes to some girls on some snake shit. But if I send a verse to they ass, then they'll take it. Shoot a video, arm around me like we aces, or pop out of my shows, and jump around with me on stages." In hindsight, it sounded like this was a shot at Future, and considering Metro Boomin's involvement in We Don't Trust You, the subtle jabs become impossible to ignore. And since their beef was confirmed, a lot of fan theories that Drake and Future's fallout involved a woman gained serious traction online. While Future had been caught sneak dissing Drake for pillow talking and possibly sharing a woman, things escalated when fans read deeper into Her Loss. On certain tracks, Drake seemed to be throwing jabs about sleeping someone connected to a rapper. What made this more intriguing was Drake's 2023 track, What Would Pluto Do?, which at first seemed like a tribute to Future, where Drake raps in the chorus, "What would Pluto do? He'd F the hoe, so I did it." However, as fans dug deeper, it looked like Drake was admitting to sleeping with Future's ex-woman. And by September of 2023, the internet connected those disses to a woman named Just Tokyo, who's been known to have ties with Future for years. Just Tokyo was first spotted backstage at Drake's tour stop in Miami. Then in March, she popped up again, but this time backstage at Future and Metro Boomin's Rolling Loud performance while wearing Future's merch. That alone raised eyebrows, but Drake's diss track Push Ups added fuel to the fire. In it, he rapped, "I'm out in Tokyo because I'm big in Japan." And while it sounded like a simple brag, fans quickly remembered that Drake had never performed in Japan and that it was one of his weakest international markets.
I've never been to Italy, never been to Tokyo.
So the lyrics suddenly seemed like a veiled reference to just Tokyo, implying he was with her in some capacity. But it didn't end there. Drake followed up with another jab on Chip and Dale, rapping about buying a woman Chanel, and coincidentally, the day after attending Drake's concert, Just Tokyo posted a photo showing off her new Chanel shoes. But on top of that, the track also cleverly referenced Chip and Dale, who are cartoon chipmunks known for always outsmarting Pluto the dog. Coincidences? Think not. You see, Drake then followed up on Family Matters with "Pluto stuff make me sick to my stomach, we ain't never really been through it." However, Future isn't the only one who's got a problem with Drake. In fact, Drake and Metro have been beefing for quite some time now. And this is important because Metro and Future are best friends, and of course, they released the album together. Similar to Future, Drake and Metro Boomin had a strong working relationship for years, but by 2023, their partnership had shattered. Things fell apart when Metro vented online after Drake's Her Loss won Rap Album of the Year. In a now deleted tweet, he wrote, "Yet Her Loss still keeps winning Rap Album of the Year over H&V. Proof that award shows are just politics and not for me. I don't care about awards honestly. The true award and the reward is knowing that the music I spend so much time on brings joy to people's everyday lives." However, Drake wasn't gonna let that slide. So in a live stream, many believe that Drake responded indirectly.
The rest of you, the non-believers, the underachievers, the tweet and deleters, you guys make me sick to my stomachs, fam. Honestly, if you guys want to look in my eyes, you guys want to do something?
However, their issues went back further when Metro removed Drake's verse from Trance with Young Thug and Travis Scott. Metro claimed it wasn't personal, saying that there was no room on the track.
Outro, it was just already like, it just really wasn't no room. It was just wasn't no room. It wasn't no personal, it just wasn't no room. So I just ended up using the original.
Obviously, Drake took it personal. So over the years, Future and Metro had developed a really strong bond, with Metro's most iconic producer tag coming straight from Future himself. So clearly, Drake and Future have had a rocky relationship. But speaking about rocky relationships, this next duo was just that. XXXTentacion and Ski Mask the Slump God were the duo to watch during the peak of the SoundCloud era. While Ski brought his unique style of rap coupled with a fresh flow, X had the hype backing him up as he slowly blew up on the internet. And although they were part of collectives like Members Only and Very Rare, which they formed themselves by the way, the two were closer to one another than anyone. To say that their chemistry was one of one would be an understatement. However, as the two started progressing in their careers, X's stock continued to soar higher and higher, while Ski's name was only thrown around for being his best friend and the guy who was always close to X.
We would just like feed off of each other. We both were the big brother and little brother at the same time to each other. We didn't even know what we wanted to do at the time. We just know we wanted to make a stand for who we are and just be ourselves.
Unfortunately, despite slowly getting some local buzz in their county, it wasn't enough to deter X from committing some truly heinous crimes. You see, on August 9, 2016, X was arrested following an incident with his then girlfriend, in which the victim alleged that she was A-worded to the point where she could no longer see. As expected, X was later charged with aggravated battery of a pregnant woman, false imprisonment, domestic, and witness tampering. And while this might have thrown a wrench into his career, X had just released his hit single Look at Me a few months prior to getting booked. So instead of hurting him, getting locked up only built up his hype. So while he was facing charges and doing time in prison, his song went viral, prompting him to gain a massive following on the internet, which meant that fans were asking around and wanted to know how X was and when he'd be getting out. And of course, who better to ask than his best friend, Ski Mask the Slump God.
What about your man who was locked up? I heard he might be out.
Oh, X? No, y'all deadass keep telling me to free X.
The thing is, it got to a point where fans didn't really care about who Ski was, and they were only interested in reaching out to him to ask about X's condition. This was of course enough to irk Ski Mask.
How about y'all free X? Y'all free X.
Right.
How about you f***ing free X? How about you free X? You keep telling me to free X. How about y'all free X?
In his eyes, he was living in his best friend's shadow, and that slowly loomed over him, especially after Look at Me entered the Billboard charts and rose up to the 34th spot over time. But while Ski was slowly festering these emotions, something else happened that diverted the duo's focus once again. For context, Ski Mask and another rapper named Rob Stone were set to open for Designer's tour. However, Ski felt some type of way after it was revealed in the set list that he was the first person to perform. Now, whenever you're attending concerts or music festivals, the first performer typically gets the least amount of fans tuning into them as possible. So Ski felt like he was wronged and intentionally arrived late, trying to steal the microphone away from Rob. From there, their beef wasn't only between Ski and Rob, but between X as well, as he also chimed in after getting released to show support for his best friend. He even made fun of Rob's biggest song.
Bro, just listen to this, bro. Bro, listen to this. Bro, listen to this. You got whistling on your What the is this, son?
Little did he know, this move would set forth a horrible outcome for both of them. because a day later, Ski Mask got given the beats on stage by several of Rob's goons while he's performing, and in response to his brother getting attacked, X took to social media and said this to Rob.
Friends, you and all your little boyfriends can't go to no cities. That can't tour. That rap career done. You gonna have to go work at Publix, bro. When we done with you gonna have to go work at Publix.
Rob tried to defend himself against the duo and clapped back at them by saying,
I'm gonna tell you, little I ain't got time for this game, nigga. You keep talking on the internet. I done told you, boy, I done beat your homeboy up last night in Cali, and I'll be out rolling loud, little. Don't you dare come to San Diego, boy. I don't make Instagram videos and shit for.
Judging from what he said, it was obvious that this was about to get real ugly for them.
Okay, I'm gonna tell you one time, you're not with me, blood. How y'all rapping kids? Y'all some little kids, bro. I ain't got time for this shit, bro. Man, bro, I got a kid. I'm trying to get my bands, bro. And anytime y'all problem, you up though, nigga.
Sometime later, it was X's turn to get given the beats on stage while performing in San Diego. Although X got knocked out, the same can't be said for his career, because while this was happening, he started to go even more viral on social media. So clearly, no matter what happened, these two always had each other's back. However, that didn't stop Ski's emotions from bottling up, because although he did gain new fans, they mostly knew him for just being X's sidekick. And after the two finished touring, the cracks in their relationship slowly reared its ugly head. One day, X hopped on Instagram Live and started talking about betrayal and trust within the music industry, sending aspiring artists a warning.
If you're an artist and you're trying to work with anyone in the industry, understand that you cannot trust anyone. People that you trust, people that are your friends, people that are close to you, the people you do business with will always try and f you over.
Although he never name-dropped Ski Mask, some fans speculated that he was referring to his best friend, especially when they heard him say things like,
"Trust no one. Do not trust anyone." Today was a real f***ed up day for me because people I trusted with my home, people I trusted with my life had shown me today that they can't be trusted. So from this day forward, I'm going to treat everyone very, 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 very differently, and I'm going to.
X then added about how disappointed he was for what happened between him and a certain someone.
All I ask from my fans and supporters today is to give me some sort of good energy or positive energy, because I'm having a really fucking bad day and I'm very disappointed today.
So it was clear that the person that X referred to here was none other than Ski. He remained focused and started to work on his own music, since he felt like he needed to be his own person and carve out a path without X. But this made X only feel more betrayed.
So what happened with me and Ski, to explain it in an appropriate way and in a way that I can respect, it was just, I guess, a lack of appreciation on his end, not because of me, I guess just from a business perspective, but he put a business perspective before a personal relationship.
He proceeded to recount how long he stuck with Ski and how much it hurt him that Ski decided to cut him off.
And I've been with him as a friend and as a brother for a very long time, so, I mean, it's just on some, like, other shit, to be honest. It's not even on some, like, it's not even on anything I've done wrong. You can't even say I've done anything to him. People use you to get where they want to go and then part ways, and I've been used a lot.
In the eyes of fans, Ski had the right to distance himself from X. After all, it was clear Ski wanted to carry his career on his own shoulders and not just continue to rely on X forever. At the time, he had the support of fans and hip-hop media alike, especially after this analogy from academics and everyday struggle.
Imagine you're hanging with Eminem. Eminem is a bigger artist, they love him. Yeah, you're coming up, but they love him. You would probably know that you will never really flourish and probably max out your potential if you're always standing next to him. You'll always be the guy who's mentioned alongside, right? Especially when you're starting out, you haven't established yourself as a solo act.
However, most people thought that the two were just going through a rough patch and that it was nothing serious. But when X released two successful projects, 17 and the Question Mark album, which even got shouted out by Kendrick Lamar, X went from being one of the most well-known SoundCloud rappers to establishing himself as hip-hop's next superstar, while Ski continued to spend time in the booth, recording his highly anticipated mixtape, while collabing with artists such as Joji, Higher Brothers, and Keith 8. And when he released his mixtape titled Book of Eli in early 2018, fans scrambled and tuned in to see if X was a feature on the project, but they'd quickly be disappointed after realizing that he was nowhere to be found. Still, it didn't matter for Ski because his mixtape was very well received by fans, despite label and management issues surrounding it. But while Ski was enjoying his solo career, his best friend used it as an opportunity to not make music again, telling fans that Ski Mask had to be friends with him once more if they wanted him to drop music.
Announcement: if you want me to make music, tell Ski Mask to be my friend again.
Despite all the money in the world, he felt a sense of emptiness with Ski not being there with him.
You need friends to help ground you and keep your mind straight.
I mean, for a while, it was only me and my best friend, and they go ski, and they don't have that, and I don't really have anybody around me I consider to ground me, to be honest.
The crazy thing is, Ski did reach out to him a couple months prior and asked him to feature on a song together. X felt betrayed and thought Ski was only using him for clout, so he took to Twitter and denied the request, writing, "My response to the request for the song by Ski is no. I am going to destroy all these rappers. None of them are friends to me. They don't give a about me. They just want my energy. And if anyone has a problem with it, me. Looks like they all want my life anyway." I'm not sure what X was thinking here, but it looked like he was finally done making amends with his best friend. However, Ski Mask later came out and exposed X for allegedly having wild intentions towards him and his family. In an Instagram story, Ski wrote, "This is a person who has threatened my family before, told me I was supposed to be sacrificed on some crazy stuff, so no, I didn't just separate myself for no reason. Sacrificing your best friend and his family is crazy." Although Ski Mask hasn't posted evidence backing his claims up, he did say that that was one of the reasons why he detached himself from X, and knowing X, that's probably something he said himself. And the aftermath of their public fallout was brutal. Other rappers and people around their friend group tried to do damage control by saying that their two quote-unquote leaders weren't really beefing, but the damage had already been done. A member of the collective named Wi-Fi's Funeral later came out and explained his perspective by saying,
It's not that niggas is not friends, bro. It's that we're not fucking like 17, 18 years old, bruh. Everybody is a grown ass man and is doing and living their own life. So just because niggas hang out with each other like that, or fuck, bruh. If niggas don't even with each other like that the way how they used to, it's not on no beef and shit. It's just like everybody just got their own life to live.
But after a while, the two seemingly made amends behind the scenes, as X always debunked the claim that their dynamic was that of Mario and Luigi.
Niggas ain't gonna treat me and Ski like we Mario and Luigi. No, we both Mario. Mario got like 4 lives, right? We share a life. You know what I'm saying? If I die right now, or a brother die right now, I come. We share lives. It ain't no motherfucking sidekick, none of that. It's not no Goku and Vegeta. You know what I'm saying? No, bro. We both Goku.
And when asked by academics if X would do what Ski Mask did if their positions were reversed, X said no.
In their shoes,
yeah.
Would you have done the same thing?
Oh hell
you
no!
Going to jail and coming back?
No. You know what I would have did? It would have became friendly competition.
From X's point of view, he thought that what Ski was doing was unnecessary, and that they could have remained best friends while competing with each other.
It would have became a fucking battle, but it would have been a battle right in front of each other. I would have looked my contestant in his eyes and be like, "Nigga, I'm gonna surpass you. I'm gonna do better than you, like the many times I did, bro."
After hearing all the noise and countless amounts of times that fans asked Ski to be friends with him, he finally snapped and said this.
Hey, listen, ain't nobody write my lyrics for me, bro. Nobody write my lyrics. Nobody forces anybody to like the lyrics that I write. So nobody made me. I made my self. You did that.
Ski was adamant that he made himself, and that he didn't have any debt to pay X for his career. And just to show you how far they had gone apart, their last collaborative song was in 2017, which is crazy if you think about it. However, some fans still held out hope that the two would rekindle their friendship again and hit the studio once more as brothers. And although we never got that, the members-only duo did reunite for one last time at Rolling Loud in 2018, where they shared this heartwarming moment. Of course, I say this was the last time because they would never share the stage ever again, especially after an incident which occurred at June 18th, 2018. The sad part is, he found out that X was during an Instagram live.
I think X got shot.
You said what?
X got shot, bro. I think X got shot. Like, for real, I think X got shot, bro.
What you mean?
Yeah, deadass, bro. I think X got shot, bro.
Nah, you lying. That ain't happened. They would have called me.
Nah, G shit. Everybody, Gabe, Solomon, they all telling me, bro, go check. They tell them how they do a CPR on the man.
When it was confirmed that X had lost his life, he later addressed it on social media with a heavy heart.
Bro, I don't even know what to say right now. I just don't know what to say. I guess I'm just making this because the information, what I just heard, was that he's passed.
But this wasn't the only sad story of a duo falling out. You see, in the 2000s, one rap duo was destined to rule it all. Back in 2005, Lil Wayne formed Young Money Entertainment, which was a joint venture with Cash Money, since he wanted to have more creative control over his own career and help nurture and develop young artists. However, it wasn't until June of 2009 that he met his biggest signee, Drake. With Drake signing Nicki Minaj just a few months later, Young Money was starting to take over the hip-hop scene. Drake and Wayne's relationship was absolutely solid, and Drake would always give Wayne his flowers.
Who has been your favorite artist to work with and why?
Oh, I have to say, I can't say one person. I gotta say, yeah, I gotta say there's 3 people that I have to say. Wayne is my favorite person to work with though, because it's just, ooh, little Wayne, he's just too good.
You gotta give Wayne
he's
the
just
love.
too good.
You see, Drake was grateful to have a mentor like Wayne, but back in 2010, a huge betrayal happened. See, rumors spread that while Weezy was locked up, Drake allegedly slept with his then girlfriend, Tammy Terrell. According to TMZ reports, Wayne was furious with Drake when he found out that he was ready to throw hands. Apparently, Wayne told his side of the story in a book proposal he sent to publishers. There, he said that Drake even visited him in prison just to confess that he had slept with Tammy. And can you imagine what Wayne felt? Wayne was the very man who put Drake on. And what made this worse was that this didn't happen during just any period of Wayne's life. It happened when he was at his lowest point. You see, life was hell for Lil Wayne in 2010 when he was sentenced to a year in Rikers Island for criminal possession of a loaded firearm stemming from an arrest 3 years back. Back in 2007, Wayne's tour bus was searched by police officers after they allegedly smelled marijuana. However, when they entered the bus, authorities claimed Weezy tried to conceal a .40 caliber, which was also found in the bus. So the rap world froze as Lil Wayne was just sentenced to 1 year in prison. Young Money was without its boss, but one artist stepped up to keep the dynasty alive, and it was none other than his prodigy, Drake.
You know, I think a lot of things changed when Wayne went to jail.
According to Drake, he felt a deep responsibility to uphold the Young Money brand while Wayne was in prison.
It was that type of responsibility where it's like, yo, when my guy comes home, I just want to make sure that this thing is bigger than where it was when we left off.
See, even though Young Money had Nicki, he still felt that all the pressure was on him.
I mean, obviously it was me and Nicki, but you know, I always felt like, okay, I'm Wayne's little brother, and he's dependent on me to carry this name, you know. And
he added,
I felt that obligation to everybody, to Mac, to Nicki, to Tez, to, you know, to really take things to whatever level I could take them to.
See, while Wayne served 8 months at Rikers, Drake tried his best to keep the label's momentum. But back to the part about Drake sleeping with his girl. You see, initially, Wayne tried to downplay the issue.
Look, there's that part in the book where you say that he came in and told you that he had smashed one of your
really?
Yes.
I wasn't worried about that. You know, I was just,
But it turns out that it wasn't his true feelings at all. According to his autobiography, he revealed that this incident had a much deeper impact, stating, "As a man, I woke up still feeling messed up about the messed up day that I had. Hell is what it is. I'm used to arguing with my girl on a daily basis, but finding out that Drake was the absolute worst thing I could have found out. And it's hard not to feel that way since this was the ultimate betrayal for someone whom he had given his most trust to. But you know what's weird? This wasn't really a shock for many. You see, as Drizzy's career progressed, a lot of fans have started to see a pattern of how reckless Drake could be just to get women. And it didn't stop him that they were in a relationship with one of his friends. See, Drake had a habit going after women who are already involved with other men. But why is that? Is it some type of weird fetish he has? And is it really worth ruining friendships? You see, over the years, this has become a major problem. And these weren't just rumors among fans anymore, as it's been discussed on major hip-hop platforms like the Joe Budden podcast.
Let's have a real conversation about how to talk about Drake behind the scenes and how people in the industry talk about Drake and how they view him. View Drake like he's a corny who grew up not getting no and now he got money and now he's able to afford that.
That could be a possible reason. Maybe Drake struggled to get the girl when he was young. However, some believed it ran deeper.
Bottom line is, most of these in the industry that have grown up a certain way don't like that this moves in the fashion he moved because they never had a respect for him.
You just said that a lot of the industry do that. A lot of in the industry do not try to everybody's. That is not true.
However, from Joe's perspective, this wasn't just happening in the music industry.
Introduce him to your girl, extra friendly, smiling.
And he do that
exchanging numbers
19, 30, 40, 50, 60, and 70 times. And it ain't just rappers. The athletes, the actors, the golfers, the executives, the tech people.
DJ Ebro also hopped on the topic and concluded that part of the reason why Drake loves to flirt with women who are in a relationship is for revenge. According to them, Drake was tired of being the sad boy mute, and he wanted to show everyone that he was the main character.
I think that people have been making fun of him for such a long time that he has really internalized all that. And that dictates the way he probably moves behind the scenes. I'm your girl, and your girl, and your girl, because you treated me like this. You think I wasn't cool enough.
But to its core, many people believe that Drake's weird behavior with women also stemmed from his childhood. Fortunately for Drake, Wayne didn't just downplay the issue at first, but he decided to be the bigger man and forgive him for the massive betrayal. And in hindsight, he must have just been happy that he was finally out. See, after 8 months, Lil Wayne walked out of Rikers Island on November 2010. However, he didn't really walk out. Instead, he got picked up by a Maybach.
Released in style, rapper Lil Wayne left the Queens Correction Department facility riding in a $300,000 Maybach.
And finally, the Young Money duo was back in action. and over the next decade, the two cooked up some serious bangers. First, they dropped Right Above It, which peaked at number 6 on the Billboard Hot 100, but on top of that, the song eventually went 5 times platinum, instantly proving that the duo was back to reclaim their throne. In the following years, the two dropped hit after hit. For instance, they followed it up with The Motto, YOLO, and She Will. However, around 2018, things started to change. Even though Drake had always made it clear that he was loyal to Wayne,
My loyalty obviously lies with the people who gave me the platform, my first shot. So that's really where that line comes from. Despite, how things may have ended up, I'm always so grateful for those 3 people.
behind the scenes, Young Money had deeper problems. See, during that time, Wayne was in a major legal battle with Birdman and Cash Money over unpaid royalties, and Drake's contract was at a point of contention. And during that time, Drake was the largest artist in the world, at least in hip-hop. And he had just dropped one of the largest albums he would ever drop of his career, Scorpion. The album was a major success, achieving record-breaking numbers and topping the charts all over the world. In fact, Scorpion broke Spotify's one-day global record of album streams, racking up 132 million streams, and Apple's single-day record with 170 million streams. However, fans caught a line on the track Is There More, where he rapped, "Yeah, as soon as this album dropped, I'm out of the deal." And in some ways, this was Drake's way of publicly confirming that he was at the end of his contract with Young Money. Now, Drake didn't just jump ship to another label. See, with his massive success, he decided to form his own label, OVO Sound, which he had already been operating as a subsidiary under Warner. You see, after Drake officially left Young Money, his relationship with Lil Wayne didn't really fall apart. Not yet, at least. Their duo definitely cooled off in terms of collaborations and touring, but that was normal, as Drake had become a global pop rap superstar, and Lil Wayne, meanwhile, continued doing his own thing. However, there was one LA rapper that exposed the truth behind the state of their relationship. Remember the issue of Drake sleeping with Wayne's girlfriend while he was in jail? That issue eventually died down, right? I mean, it hadn't been circulated for years. However, Wayne's traumatic experience would be put in the spotlight once again when Drake went to war with Kendrick Lamar. You see, K-Dot used this as ammo for his diss track, Not Like Us, where he rapped, "Fucked on Wayne girl while he was in jail, that's conniving." And just like that, all the past wounds started to come back. Unfortunately for Drake, it's safe to say that he got demolished by Kendrick in this battle. And while almost the entire industry turned against Drake, one of the biggest surprises was that Wayne also did not show support. But why, after all these years, did Wayne suddenly distance himself now? Well, a lot of speculation was made that the resurfacing of Drake sleeping with his ex really took a toll on Weezy. You see, even though he wanted to downplay what happened,
Does it really?
No. But now I remember though, yeah, he rapped. I don't know who he rapped at. When you in jail though, even yo side is your main.
it was clear that it still bothered him.
She still be texting me and stuff, They stopped texting me too, for real, cause it still hurt.
He explained that being locked up was one of the worst experiences ever, and that betrayal only made things worse.
You ain't never text her back. You ain't call her when she called you. You couldn't tell her what color her hair was. That's how much you ain't see it. But when you in jail, whew, if she don't answer that phone when you call, Lord have mercy.
I mean, that kind of a cheating incident is something you just can't forget. And when Kendrick brought the topic back to light, it might have made him realize that he'd been rocking with the wrong guy. So what did Wayne do? Well, he didn't just stay out the drama. Instead, he started publicly siding with Drake's ops. Wayne didn't even need to say anything. Fans already saw the signs when Weezy was spotted wearing an EXO chain. For reference, EXO is the signature label of one of Drake's main enemies, The Weeknd. However, what probably triggered Drake more was that Abel, The Weeknd, even showed his appreciation to Wayne for wearing the chain. However, some argued that he was actually siding with Drake since he was holding up his OVO chain. But you know what? Wayne's suspicious acts didn't stop there. In fact, he'd also team up with another one of Drake's ops, Rick Ross, for a track called You Don't Stop. Some might say that that was just chain, and that was just a feature. That doesn't mean much, right? Well, just to confirm to everyone where he was siding, Wayne's DJ played Not Like Us in a concert in Tacoma. And in this video, you can see Wayne just vibing and rapping along the song. However, everything became even more obvious when Wayne dropped a verse on Corday's song, Saturday Morning. And if there was any doubt about who he was talking about, Wayne already name-dropped Drake's last name, rapping, "I'm a goat, you a sacrificial lamb, you a teddy bear, you a Teddy Graham." When you look at the bigger picture, it was clear that Wayne was tired of being neutral. Unfortunately, Wayne wasn't the only one in Young Money who had distanced themselves from Drake. In fact, many people believe that Nicki Minaj had already started doing the same. Now, sometimes rap duos can come from nothing and make it big. Unfortunately for this next SoundCloud rapper duo, Lil Pump and Smokepurpp, their careers are starting to look darker and darker. So what exactly happened? Well, we needed to travel back to 2016 when Smokepurpp was actually the more recognizable name of the two. Yep, back in the day, you probably wouldn't even know Lil Pump. In an early interview from that year, Purpp introduced his homie by saying,
"You want to introduce us to who you're with?"
This is my little nigga Pump.
Lil Pump was relatively unknown, and even though he had already made a handful of freestyles online, it was Smokepurpp who convinced and pushed him to record his music. And with that, Lil Pump officially began his rap career, with a collab alongside his close friend. Fortunately for this duo, their ambitions would soon turn into a reality. However, just as the duo started to gain buzz, controversy immediately followed. Smokepurpp had already received criticism from underground rap fans for his music. You see, Purpp's music might have been a vibe, but it was also glorifying substance use and violence without much substance. On top of that, even back then, Purpp was already known for calling out more established rappers through tweets and Instagram stories, though none of these rappers bit at the beef yet. And while both rappers were rising, it was clear that Lil Pump was starting to separate himself from Smokepurpp in terms of mainstream recognition. And by the end of 2017, Pump dropped the iconic Gucci Gang. Today, the song sits at 1.1 billion views on YouTube. Unfortunately though, not everyone was impressed. See, Lil Pump was one of the faces of mumble rap, and established rappers like Eminem weren't exactly impressed. In the intro track, The Ringer, for his album Kamikaze, Eminem expresses annoyance to the new generation of rappers, stating, "Do you have any idea how much I hate this choppy flow? Everyone copies though. Probably got no audio on my Audi, yo adios," and was going at everyone on the album. And he even name-dropped Pump, stating, "Lil Pump, Lil Xan imitate Lil Wayne. I should aim at everybody in the game, pick a name." However, Pump wasn't gonna back down, even though Eminem clearly outranked him. So what did he do as a response? Well, he took to Instagram to say this.
"Hey, Eminem, you is lame as ain't nobody listening to your old ass."
See, Lil Pump was known for trolling, and you know what? His plan was working at the time. He was clearly making a name for himself in a very short amount of time. Fortunately, all the trolling came back to haunt him. See, for some reason, Lil Pump decided to diss one of the best MCs in the game at the time, J. Cole. Lil Pump previewed a track titled FJ Cool, produced by his good old duo, Smokepurpp. In this track, Lil Pump said a whole bunch of insults towards J. Cole, but he basically just repeated the whole FJ Cole chant throughout the whole song. And while J. Cole might be known for the whole peaceful guy or backing out of beef, back then he wasn't, and he'd respond to both Lil Pump and Smokepurpp. See, when Cole dropped KOD back in 2018, many fans felt like he was sending subtle jabs to the duo. In the song 1985, Cole rapped, "I heard one of them diss me. I'm surprised. I ain't tripping. Listen good to my reply. Come here, little man. Let me talk with you. See if I can paint for you the larger picture." But you know what's scary about the song? A lot of fans thought of it as a premonition about Lil Pump's career. You see, in this diss, J. Cole talked about a certain artist's fall off, rapping, "One day them kids that's listening gonna grow up and get too old for that. They made you blow up. Now your show's looking light cause they don't show up," which unfortunately means the money slowed up. But he didn't stop just yet. He continued by saying, "Now you scrambling and hoping to get hot again, but you forgot you only popped cause you was riding trends. Now you old news and you going through regrets cause you never bought that house, but you got a Benz." And you know what? As the year progressed, the verses become more and more true. However, during that time, Lil Pump wasn't worried one bit. Instead, he continued trolling online.
"Wow, you get so much props. You just a 17-year-old. Lame ass. Shit, I ain't worried about none of you old heads. I ain't with none of that lyrical shit. I just be having fun with what I do."
And just like that, Lil Pump had his first taste of rap beef. But even though there was never a really clear reason why Pump dissed J. Cole, Purpp would continue to back his boy. In his shows, he'd even chant the song. On top of that, Purpp went as far as to claim that Pump was better than J. Cole.
Do I think Lil Pump is better than J. Cole? I don't listen to J. Cole, so yes. Lyrically, I don't know. Somebody else got to compare that. I'm not the right person for that.
That move, however, backfired just a week later after the F. Cole chant with his fans, when a J. Cole fan threw water at Purpp during a show, prompting him to jump into the crowd and start a brawl. Surprisingly though, just a year later, Lil Pump and J. Cole looked like they were ready to squash the beef. See, in May of 2018, Lil Pump and J. Cole famously met in person to settle their differences, with many describing it as a student meets teacher moment.
I don't even know how to open it. It's good, first of all. Right? I'm Lil Pump. Lil Pump, J. Cole.
And most fans couldn't even believe this was happening. During the interview, J. Cole opened up about initially being skeptical about Pump.
I ain't gonna lie, I thought you was trying to set me up or some shit. Like, yo, he's 17, he like a master troll. I think you wanted to FaceTime, right?
Yeah.
I was like, what'd I say? Like,
You're like, nah, you a big ass girl, I can't pick up.
But he quickly realized that maybe all the trolling was a part of the brand.
Watch your videos. When I first started seeing your videos, I was like, I'm buying into the image. I'm like, yo, this little nigga crazy. Like, he don't give a f. But as I started watching more of the videos, I was like, yo, this kid is smart.
Unfortunately, not everyone agreed with those statements. For instance, one fan commented, "J. Cole is the most patient person on earth. He's trying to make him feel smart even when he says dumb shit." Throughout the interview, the two rappers talked about almost everything. They talked about family, how they started rapping, and more. However, one of the most notable moments was when they started talking about substance use. Keep in mind, at this point, Pump was constantly getting a lot of heat for glorifying substances in his music. But when J. Cole asked about that certain topic, Pump acted like it was not a big deal at all.
I just did it just cause like I wanted to smoke, but
Got it.
I never tried that, so you know people would be we smoked before. You try that shit, too far.
You see, since the beginning of his career, he and his friend Smoke Perp had been constantly criticized for this specific issue, as I spoke about. In fact, J. Cole wasn't the only rapper who would press them about it. In an interview on Joe Budden's Pull Up series, Russ didn't hold back his criticism of the emerging SoundCloud rap culture either, and he specifically voiced his concerns about the messaging being propped up by artists like Lil Pump and Smoke Perp.
There are people like the Lil Pumps and the Smoke Perps and just the people who are using the fact that hip hop is the coolest thing to be doing right now. They're using that as a marketing tool to be buffoons.
He argued that rappers like Smoke Perp and Lil Pump have no clue on the impact that they have on children.
You have to understand 13-year-olds, 14-year-olds, they don't have the mindset where they can decipher what's real and what's not.
On top of that, he also criticized the duo for perpetuating negative stereotypes within the hip hop community.
So people like Lil Pumps and these type of kids who are just, they are literally telling the rest of the world, the Russias, the Chinas, they're telling the world that this is what it means to be black, in a sense. And that's the problem.
However, his anger towards the two didn't start from nothing. See, it all started when the duo took offense to Russ's stance towards substances. Russ was very open and vocal about his beliefs. In fact, he'd even wore shirts with messages like, "How much stands and leans do you have to do before you realize you're a loser?" But Russ didn't stop there. See, he even ranted on Twitter about Lil Peep's passing, writing, "A wording Xanax and other etc. in private because you're depressed / other mental issues is one thing, still not good. Constantly recording yourself doing up pics and videos of you doing it is when you start choosing to publicly glorify it and make it an image." And with that, Smoke Perp had enough, replying, "Shut the you up." On the other hand, he also tried to defend Lil Peep's name, stating, "Don't ever use someone's passing to make yourself look cool or as an example, lame as." Unfortunately for Russ, this sparked a wave of Russ hate online, with other rappers like Lil Pump, Wi-Fi's Funeral, and many other SoundCloud rappers joining in. However, Russ wasn't gonna let that slide, and suddenly, Twitter wars were starting to get taken into real life. See, as the Smoke Perp and Russ beef heated up, Russ shocked the hip-hop world when he threatened to put out a video of Smoke Perp or Young Bands, who he was also beefing with, getting a case of the beats.
I'm gonna tell you right now, if they respond, they know what time it is, bro. I'm putting you like this. We got video too. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, so if they get slick at the mouth, you just put the video
I'll leak the video, you getting your beat. So I suggest you tread carefully. You feel me? Period.
In an interview with Charlemagne, Russ was asked about his feud with the two rappers.
We call y'all at festivals, you know what I'm saying? Not him. We call y'all's people at festivals. Ask your manager, you know what I'm saying? Like, y'all know what's up. We don't put up videos because I be minding my business. And I'm not gonna be on the internet.
He teased the audience about the incident during a music festival.
Those two kids, those are clowns, bro.
Did you see him at any festival?
Yeah, we've caught one of them at a festival. That knows what time it is, bro.
Which one? Smoke Perp or Lil Band?
But what's weird about these statements was that hours after the interview was released, a video of a scuffle between Russ's crew and Smoke Perp emerged. In the video, the artist who was allegedly getting given the beats was Smoke Perp, who quickly jumped on Instagram Live to tell his side of the story.
So this happened at Splash Festival, right? I use the bathroom, I come out the bathroom, and it's like 7-8 dudes out there, just, they mugging, you feel me? They're like, "You good?" I'm like, "You good?" And right there, it just gets to squabbling.
He admitted he was the one getting attacked in the video, but according to Perp, he was able to stand his own.
It's me, literally just me. If y'all seen any videos, y'all saw it was literally just me. So that's what I did. I fought all of by myself, and that's it.
However, he also clarified that Russ was nowhere to be seen during the altercation.
Russ did not do shit. Russ would've got worked, bro. So I'm guessing the dudes who was outside the bathroom, I'm guessing this, you know what I'm saying, they got sent.
But this didn't rule out the possibility that Russ was the one who planned the attack.
I don't know if they got paid by Russ. Russ, you a bitch for trying to make it seem like you did anything, cause you know if me and you went heads up, I'll beat the brakes out you. You like 5'2". I'll choke slam you. What you talking about?
Sadly for Russ, his career would take a massive dip in the years that followed. It got so bad that Russ needed to cancel his European tour due to quote-unquote mental health issues. However, Lil Pump didn't believe this one bit, and he felt like it was time to attack him.
You think you got mental health issues? I'm from Dade County. I was born with mental health issues. How about you deal with them? Stop being a fucking pussy. And you know damn well who I'm talking to, boy. You just canceled the whole Europe tour. Stop canceling shit. Hop on that fucking plane and go do your shows, you.
And while Lil Pump might have had Smokepurp's back during that time, unfortunately, their solid relationship would soon be tested. You see, the following year was tough for Pump and Perp. In early 2019, Lil Pump dropped his second studio album, Harvard Dropout, which still did okay, since it debuted at number 7 on the US Billboard 200, but unfortunately, despite having some heavy hitters like Kanye West, Lil Wayne, Offset, YG, and 2 Chainz on the album, it couldn't replicate the success of Gucci Gang. On top of that, most reviews called it lazy, repetitive, and proved that Pump's style was really falling behind. However, just days after the release, a betrayal happened. See, right after Lil Pump dropped Harvard Dropout, Smokepurp hopped on Instagram and dropped a bomb that caught fans completely off guard.
Man, listen, I'm not playing with you no more. I need all my royalties, man. I need all my money.
In a shocking twist, Smokepurp claimed that he wrote Lil Pump's biggest hit, stating,
Gucci Gang, that was my song. I gave you that song. I gave you your first big hit.
And considering Gucci Gang was Lil Pump's breakout song, the idea that Smokepurp secretly penned it was wild.
Boy, you better stop playing. I wrote and produced all your first songs. What you talking about?
And just like that, the SoundCloud duo was at war. It didn't take long for Pump to catch wind of the claim. Within hours, he fired back on his Instagram story, saying,
Smokepurp, stop playing with me, man. I created SoundCloud. Stop playing with me.
Pump made it clear that he wasn't about to let anyone take credit for his biggest record.
Bro, what the are you talking about? Dude, that's my flow. That's my song. What are you talking about?
However, Pump wasn't done. He then reversed the allegations and said that he was the one who put him on, stating,
Perp, bro, stop playing with me, bro. I'm the first to introduce you to Ronnie Day. Ronnie J, DJ Carnage, and Travis Scott, bro. Stop playing with me.
However, fans weren't really convinced due to the two rappers' closeness. And you know what? They were right. See, the beef took a turn when Smokepurp took to Twitter, stating, Man, y'all know damn well me and Perp besties, indicating that the feud was not serious and staged for attention. Unfortunately, this was just a publicity stunt to try and reignite their already failing career.
Pump is my brother. I love Pump and his music, but our music is nothing alike. I don't know where you got I'm Writing His Way from. That's irrelevant.
The Lil Pump's Harvard Dropout might have flopped a little bit, but Smokepurp's career had massively fallen off to the point that Death Star 2 only debuted at a dismal number 137 on the Billboard charts, which is the worst chart performance of his career. And to make matters worse, Smokepurp reportedly spent $2 million producing the album, only for it to be re-recorded multiple times because his label wasn't happy with the result. You see, the album also took a massive L when a Kanye West feature was scrapped. Adding to the confusion, fans started to question whether Smokepurp was even still signed to Travis Scott's Cactus Jack. Despite the initial announcement in 2017, no further projects or promotions came from Cactus Jack, and Perp later claimed he chose to leave for Interscope himself, while popular theory suggested that he was never signed at all. But if you think that 2019 was rough for the duo, 2020 was downright humiliating for both Lil Pump and Smokepurp. Pump's public image took a massive nosedive, including a children's song that even he seemed uninterested in. But the real controversy came when he decided to jump into politics. As the US presidential election heated up, Lil Pump made headlines for attending a Donald Trump rally, sporting a MAGA hat, and publicly endorsing Trump. The move backfired instantly, and over 300,000 fans unsubscribed from Pump's social media in protest. However, the most iconic thing that happened during that time was when Donald Trump mistakenly called him the wrong name.
And speaking of sound, music, and other things, one of the big superstars of the world, Lil Pimp. There he is.
Lil Pimp went viral, and of course, the internet had a field day with this new meme. Although Trump did invite him on stage and clear up his real name, stating,
How's it going? Do you want to come up and say something? Come on. Lil Pump, come on. Come on up here. Come on up here. Does everyone know who he is? Do you know how big he is? Come on up here.
The damage was already done. However, it looked like Lil Pump didn't care much at all. After all, it was still publicity for his declining name.
MAGA 2020. Don't forget that. Don't forget that. And do not vote for Sleepy Joe at all.
And just like that, Lil Pump kinda got some momentum back. But that didn't mean his music career would have a comeback. As one fan noted, I think Lil Pimp is actually more relevant than Lil Pump these days. However, to make matters worse, it looked like Lil Pump was the last person you should listen to when it came to politics, as Florida records showed that Pump wasn't even registered to vote. Meanwhile, Smokepurp embarrassed himself even more when he did a freestyle on Tim Westwood TV.
Ooh, I ain't seeing this, afraid to let go. Give me my perkies, boy, don't you let go.
This freestyle got so bad that the dislike count is higher than the like count. But on top of that, the backlash got so wild that they even had to turn off comments.
Hey, it's toxic and deceiving, but I know it can change.
And fans didn't hold back, with some claiming that it was hard to watch, while others were just confused and disappointed, stating, when did a rapper going into a radio show expect to be asked to freestyle and maybe jot down some thoughts before going in, maybe to prevent spotlight stuff like this from happening? But you couldn't really blame the fans. In the freestyle, there were just some parts where he was just mumbling in a high-pitched voice. On top of that, he'd continuously choke and forget some parts.
I've been popping since a youngin', I've been popping choppers. I've been moving with my niggas in and all my shotters. I'm from
About a month later, after the freestyle, Perp decided to fire back at his critics. See, after being constantly mocked, he was also receiving a lot of comments that he had massively fallen off. However, Smoke Perp believed otherwise. In an Instagram story rant, he stated, "First they said I'm falling off, then their new excuse was we want the old pump, make the floor legit like the old mosh pit Perp, and now those same people are acting like they been knew I was about to turn back up like this. I'm streaming crazy, my music is going up more than ever." But on top of that, he took this time to promote his upcoming album, Florida Jit. Unfortunately though, right after he dropped Florida Jit, the album's reception was even worse than Dead Star 2, only selling 5,000 copies in its first week and debuting at number 96 on the Billboard 200. And as if 2020 wasn't bad enough, Lil Pump reignited his beef with Eminem by calling him out in an Instagram video, saying,
"Hey, Eminem, you is lame as hell. Ain't nobody listening to your old ass."
Fans immediately sided with Eminem, considering Pump's comments both unnecessary and wildly inaccurate, given their drastically different streaming numbers. On top of that, many fans also believe that this kind of trolling was just Pump's way of clout chasing. So by early 2021, Pump had already apologized for the insult. When asked about the incident, he even claimed that he couldn't remember any of it. On an Instagram Live with Fat Joe, he stated,
"Never understood the Eminem, Lil Pump. Like, what was that about?"
Who?
Eminem.
I remember that.
See, he had a very weak reason for it. According to Lil Pump, there were just incidents that he might have been sleeping when it happened.
I was like, my fault, I was asleep. I'm so sorry about that.
Which is probably a lame excuse for his actions. However, his personal vendetta against Eminem didn't stop there. Clout chasing isn't the only possible reason why he hates Eminem so much. In fact, as recently as 2024, he'd attack him again over his political beliefs. As a massive Donald Trump fan, Pump cursed out Eminem for endorsing Kamala Harris.
"Eminem, you're a fucking piece of shit going on stage and speaking on Kamala Harris shit. You're a fucking piece of shit for going on stage and taking a picture with fucking Obama. You're a fucking piece of shit. You hate Donald Trump so much that you rather fucking ruin this country by fucking going on stage with Kamala Harris."
However, he didn't stop there. In fact, they decided to get personal with it.
"Kamala Harris, you're literally a fucking piece of shit. Fuck you and fuck Haley."
And we all know you don't come after Haley. Unfortunately for Pump, M didn't really give him the time of day and completely ignored him. And despite what Pump said, Eminem just remained silent on the matter. But maybe he'll respond to him in the future. However, if there was a small silver lining during that year, it was that the duo was able to collaborate with one of the biggest social media influencers, KSI. The three made a track called Poppin', which was able to bring some attention during a period of fall off. Attempting to salvage their careers, both rappers made weak comeback attempts in 2021. Lil Pump, for his part, released a new album titled No Name, but didn't even bother promoting it. The result? The numbers were barely above what you'd expect from an underground SoundCloud rapper. By 2022, the situation was grim. Pump released just 2 tracks that year that barely got any streams, but it was still better than some of the desperate moves Smoke Perp was making. See, he dropped his Psycho EP, which also flopped massively. But on top of that, videos would surface of Perp performing in particularly empty venues. And to make things worse, fans who showed up didn't even get the full show.
You're telling me I'm gonna wait for like 2.5 hours, not even that, and you're gonna perform like maybe like 3 songs, like what the f is that?
Waiting since 6.
Yeah, like straight up, like we're gonna give you money, and like people are talking about like, yo, you're not dropping off, you're not dropping off.
In a now deleted Instagram post, Perp tried to address the video, saying, "Poor been lit, don't believe the hype. I love what I do and I'm gonna give my fans a show regardless. I bet they won't post it though. We outside." One fan also asked him under the comment section if the clip was true, and Perp didn't really deny any of it, saying there was a show that was pretty empty that I didn't have to do. But I'm gonna give my fans a show regardless, always. I wouldn't be here without them. However, it turns out that comment was just another lame excuse, because the same thing happened at his recent show. In fact, he even canceled a performance in Cleveland after finding out only 20 people were in the audience. Breaking. Smoke Perp is a no-show to his scheduled performance tonight in Cleveland. There were about 20 people waiting for him to perform, with several who bought meet and greets. They were kicked out of the venue after requesting refunds. Yikes. But if that wasn't enough, it looked like Perp was starting to lose money. See, he bizarrely claimed that Kanye West owed him $9 million.
Owe me like $9 million, nigga. hit my line, nigga, or my lawyer's gonna hit your lawyer, nigga.
This could be from the time Kanye was supposed to be featured on his album, but unfortunately it was highly unlikely that he would ever get a response from Kanye during that time.
You still owe me like $9 million. Tap it, nigga.
What was even sadder was that Lil Pump and Smokepurpp's careers eventually took a massive nosedive through the following years. Though they started as inseparable friends who pushed each other in the rap game, by the early 2020s, neither could repeat the magic that once made them the biggest SoundCloud rappers. So where did it all go wrong? Was it because of the non-stop trolling, their political stance, or did the fans just grow tired of the music? The mumble rap has truly died down since they started to fall off. Well, according to Adam22, these things are normal in the music scene. When an artist gets too hot, people seem to want them to fail.
The Lil Pump thing was just so big that it's like the people couldn't help but turn against him at a certain point once.
However, he also explained that the two couldn't really adapt to the new generation of music.
Like, they loved the meme, they loved the idea of him, they loved the hilarity of Pump, and then at a certain point they just turned away from him because maybe the music didn't evolve or keep changing or whatever.
But not every rap duo can stay friends. Some have nasty breakups. The best recent example being Young Thug, Gunna. Young Thug and Gunna's relationship was deeper than just being a rap duo. Their dynamic as mentor and protege started all the way back in 2015 when the two first met through a music video for With That. A year later, Gunna was officially introduced to the world by Thug on his Jeffrey mixtape. For some context, the mixtape had star-studded features like Gucci Mane, Travis Scott, and many others, so giving Gunna the opportunity to work alongside them was a blessing for the up-and-coming rapper. Not to mention, the two always looked inseparable.
I got nerve to be playing. How the hell you take a pee off a pee? You take a pee off a pee, man.
However, everything changed when May of 2022 rolled around.
Two popular rap artists under arrest in Fulton County, Young Thug and Gunna, are facing serious charges related to gang activity. And the DA says gangs are behind a huge amount of the crime that seems to be exploding in recent weeks. And
it wasn't just them who got thrown in jail. 26 other YSL affiliates were indicted in a RICO case, accusing them of being responsible for various crimes and gang activities throughout the years. Worst of all, Thug was caught in the middle of it as he was the leader of the quote-unquote gang. A day later, Gunna turned himself in to the authorities as the two requested bond, which the court quickly denied them from doing. So the duo went from dropping hits and making millions to being incarcerated in the span of 2 days.
An indictment filed on Monday in Fulton County Superior Court accuses Gunna of violating Georgia's anti-racketeering law. The indictment alleges that fellow rapper Young Thug co-founded a violent street gang that committed and carjackings over roughly a decade and promoted its activities in songs and on social media.
But after 7 months of being locked up, there was finally some positive news. On December 14th of 2022, it was announced that Gunna threw a music video. However, what seemed like a dream come true for YSL and Gunna fans alike quickly turned into a maneuver that was going to alienate him from the rap industry.
I have chosen to end my own RICO case with an Alford plea and end my personal ordeal by publicly acknowledging my association with YSL.
For those that may not know what an Alford plea is, it means that he pleaded guilty to his count of conspiracy to violate the RICO while maintaining his claim of innocence. While that might not sound so bad on paper, court footage says otherwise. See, there was a key video circulating around the internet of him quote-unquote snitching.
YSL is a music label and a gang, and you have personal knowledge that members or associates of YSL have committed crimes in furtherance of the gang.
Yes, ma'am.
Getting caught on camera doing this, no matter the circumstances, is crazy in hip-hop. However, his quote-unquote snitching was something that Young Thug and a lot of YSL members should have seen coming. See, because as fans pointed out, this wasn't exactly the first time he was caught doing so on camera. Back in the day, he was even featured on CNN for doing the exact same thing as a kid.
Kitchens believes that mistaken identity played a big role in this case, and he knows one thing for sure, that his cousin is innocent.
And it's not right because you think you have one in jail for the crime, but it's not the right guy.
After he got out, Charlamagne the God from the Breakfast Club even pressed the rapper about it.
That's not even you on that video?
Yes, that's me, but that wasn't on no Crime Stop. I don't know what the hell I'm thinking about because I wasn't in no case or nothing. So like just saying like, oh, you snitched on who? I was never in no case.
Following his release, he also dropped a couple of projects as a way to tell the rap world that he's back. However, the most glaring difference was that there were no verses from Young Thug to be found in his projects. Not only that, frequent collaborators like Lil Baby were also absent. It was a project that had no features but himself. In other words, his fellow rappers and peers were slowly distancing themselves from the so-called rap. But it looked like Gunna didn't need them, since he was perfectly fine doing a solo project that turned into a certified smash hit. After all, he sold over 85,000 units when a Blessing and a Curse released, and afterwards the project became certified gold. But what was so odd about all of this was the fact that Gunna was still signed to Young Thug's record label, meaning he was actually making money off it. You see, Gunna officially signed with Young Thug's very own record label, Young Stoner Life, or YSL for short, in 2017. But despite making so much money, he never forgot the one person who helped him, his brother and mentor, Young Thug.
Slime is like my bro, my homie, you know what I'm saying? And Slime is it's slick. It's kind of like a snake.
Gunna continued to release a number of albums alongside other YSL members, but it was obvious that compared to them, he showed the most promise and was a star, so as his mentor, Thug made sure to be there for him, featuring on every single project he had released back in the day. But of course, this would all come crashing down. Anyways, none of this mattered because at the time, the most pressing issue Gunna was facing were the snitching allegations, and not just from his peers, but from fans as well. And the public had pretty much come to a clear consensus. Carlston White said this:
Is Gunna a snitch?
You goddamn right you heard when that judge say, Gunna, you in the game? You in the game? He said, yes, Your Honor. Oh.
That's not all. He also reacted to news of him getting out of prison by snitching on his Instagram Live and said this:
I'm glad he got out by telling. I think that was smart, Gunna.
And as if that wasn't bad enough, one of rap's most notorious snitches, 6ix9ine, also parroted the same opinion, saying that Gunna was in fact guilty of snitching.
Did they say, yes, and we are a gang? They denied that. So Sergio Kitchens went in that courtroom and admitted, nah, I'm dead. Till he went into that courtroom, the judge said, YSL is a gang and a record label. YSL committed crimes in furtherance of the gang to whatever. Is that correct, Mr. Kitchens? What did he say?
Yes, ma'am.
Hearing 6ix9ine co-sign Gunna's rat allegations made waves online, as it takes one to know one.
So he just incriminated, implicated YSL being a gang. So now his fat ass is home, right? All the people who's locked up, like Jeffrey, like Young Thug, now he can't go with that defense. He can't go with the defense of saying, I'm a record label. Your man just copped out, went home, told open court, told the court, told the judge, told the DA, yes, it is a gang.
However, Gunna knew he had to do damage control to stop these allegations from spreading even further and acted swiftly. So the first thing he did after he got out was reaffirm fans that he didn't flip on his mentor and label boss, Young Thug. While I have agreed to always be truthful, I want to make it perfectly clear that I have not made any statements, have not been interviewed, have not cooperated, have not agreed to testify or be a witness for or against any party in the case, and have absolutely no intention of being involved in the trial process in any way. But it wasn't enough, as fans saw Gunna as nothing more than a rat. In fact, there were even rumors circulating that Thug told everyone to not associate themselves with Gunna. To make it worse, this was being peddled and repeated by DJ Academics. Been told y'all, Thug told Durk, Baby, and a few other rappers that Gunna was no good while he was incarcerated. But regardless of all the online noise and chattering surrounding Gunna's actions, he was establishing himself as one of hip-hop's top rappers, despite having little or no features because of Thug's displeasure. The crazy part was, as of recording this video, he's still under YSL and has made no significant plans to leave, even with YSL Mondo, who's a co-owner of the record label, constantly throwing him under the bus like this.
Boy, you didn't supposed to do that, my brother. Even though I didn't be talking about it. Everybody who got common sense, everybody who's been in the streets, no, you did not. But you don't do no like that, my brother. I ain't gonna need hoes, bro. I always said, bro, he was a good, genuine. Was everybody around him.
And while other fans remained reluctant and continued to hold out hope for the two to make up, their optimism was crushed when Young Thug tweeted this out: "Wham, let's drop one on these rats, Peter. It doesn't take a genius to put two and two together, right?" But they were still quite confused after all the slander that came Gunna's way. He still remained loyal to YSL.
I'm still signed to YSL. I'm still providing, like, we still pushing, like, no paperwork has been changed. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, whatever's been getting and how we've been pushing this, it's still going.
If you're Thug, it would also be a horrible move to get rid of your record label's biggest cash cow while you're still in the camp. So that might have been the reason behind that. But it didn't save Gunna from experiencing the backlash from his frequent collaborators like Lil Baby, Lil Durk, 21 Savage, and others, as everyone proceeded to unfollow him and send shots his way. On a letter to my brother, 21 Savage rapped, "I can't kick it with your kind like I tore my meniscus. How you go from co-defendant to a witness." That's not all. Lil Baby also alluded to snitching allegations in the song 350. Ain't never say nothing about it, you know you a rat. And these are just some of the more well-known examples. If I were to state every rapper who dissed him, ranging from Drake to Lil Uzi, we'd be here all day. However, kudos to Gunna, because not only did he keep his chin up high, he also silenced all the haters after releasing 101 in May of 2024. debuted at number 2 on the Billboard charts and sold over 90,000 units in its first week. The project was such a hit that it became Gunna's 6th project to earn a top 10 placement album in the charts. But it wasn't only Gunna who had great news, because the same could also be said for Young Thug. In November of 2024, the YSL leader was finally released from jail.
I take full responsibility for, my crimes or my charges.
Rapper Young Thug speaking at the conclusion of his lengthy racketeering trial, which marks the longest-running criminal case in Georgia history.
I want to say sorry to my family, my mom, really everybody that got something to do with this situation.
The thing is, there were a lot of intricacies regarding Thug's release, since he entered a plea deal that resulted in his freedom the very same day, with 15 years of probation to follow. The most unexpected part of it all was that he made a personal request to the judge to be able to work with Gunna as a part of his deal.
The Williams have no contact with any of the co-defendants in this indictment, with the exception of Mr. Quantavious Greer, that is his biological brother, as well as Mr. Sergio Kitchens. He's a phenomenal artist. He goes performer known as Gunna.
This news sent shockwaves to the rap community, as fans were excited to hear that another classic Thug and Gunna collab was on the way. But their hopes were quickly shattered, because a couple of days after he was released, Thug tweeted out, "Gunna, stop acting like we friends on the internet. I don't know you, my guy." Although the tweet was quickly taken down, it was clear that the two had a shaky relationship, and that we aren't going to get anything from them anytime soon. Even in his interviews, Young Thug was adamant in dodging questions related to Gunna.
His artist was Gunna. You guys did a ton of songs together.
Yeah.
Very successful on your label.
Yeah.
He was arrested about the same time as you. I think a lot of people wonder what that relationship is like now.
Yeah, I know everybody wondering that.
What's it like?
I don't know.
If you're wondering why, it's because one of the conditions he had to agree to be released from jail contains a strict rule that he can't associate with known gang members, victims of the case, or any other defendants in a harmful matter. So if he were to outright say he was going for Gunna full throttle, there might be repercussions from the authorities. Young Thug and Gunna weren't the only mentor and protege duo in hip-hop to fall apart. Next abandoned duo is that of Kanye West and Jay-Z. You see, the duo of Kanye and Jay was already making waves in the early 2000s, back when up-and-coming producer Kanye West worked as an in-house producer for Rockefeller Studios. He worked on plenty of Jay-Z albums, including The Dynasty and The Blueprint. From there, the two built a solid relationship as time went by, and Jay even had this to say about Kanye back in the day.
One of the joys for me in the music business is watching a new artist develop into their own. I mean, that just brings me joy, like to see artists come from nothing and then, they know he has a name. That's Kanye West. That's Kanye West. He signed an autograph.
You could definitely tell that the two were like brothers right from the get-go.
And right now, this he's just delivering it, and the passion he got for his music, I don't think it's gonna stop.
And they continue to hop on each other's classic albums before finally releasing their long-awaited collab project titled Watch the Throne, which is the name that the legendary duo went by. It was a smash hit right from the get-go, selling 500,000 copies in its first week, while debuting at the top spot on the Billboard charts. So far so good, right? Well, it wasn't exactly all smooth between them, because in 2014, cracks would start to form in their relationship. See, during Kim and Kanye's bombastic grand wedding, there were a lot of celebrities and fellow rappers in attendance. However, you had to be blind to notice Jay and Beyonce's attendance. In other words, they weren't there. And for someone like Kanye, who was always referred to as Jay's big brother, this felt like a stab in the back. But in an interview, when the host brought up Jay's absence, Kanye tried to put on a brave face by saying, "It doesn't matter to me whatsoever who would show up. Because the most important person to show up there, me, him." However, this wasn't the first time the two had differences. Rather, it was just the most publicized one. For example, Watch the Throne almost never happened due to an argument between the two.
As soon as I thought we had wrapped up Watch the Throne, I made 2 records. I had 2 records. I had Holy Grail and I had Oceans. And I played those records for Kanye, and he was like, "No, those have to go and Watch the Throne." So we spent 4 days arguing about those records.
Still, these instances weren't enough to drive a wedge between the two in their relationship. See, in 2015, Jay-Z launched his own streaming platform named Tidal, alongside other high-profile artists to entice potential users. One of those artists was none other than Kanye West. To add to that, he showed support to Jay's business endeavor. He even told fans that his newest album at the time, The Life of Pablo, was only going to be on Tidal, and that no other music streaming platform was going to play his album. "My album will never be on Apple, and it will never be on sale. You can only get it on Tidal," as well as posting, "Please to all my friends and fans and music lovers, sign up to Tidal now." So while Jay wasn't there for Kanye's wedding day, he did the complete opposite and supported Jay's Tidal promotion run. What a great friend, right? Well, I may have spoken too soon, because a couple months after this, the now classic album started to seep its way through other media platforms like Apple Music, Spotify, and even Kanye's own website. And as you can imagine, this did more harm than good to their already volatile relationship. So, tired of his brother's antics, Jay wanted to distance himself from the other half of the throne. But this wasn't the end of their spat. See, in 2016, it was reported that Kim Kardashian got robbed at gunpoint in Paris after attending Fashion Week. And if you're wondering how this affects Jay-Z at all, well, in Kanye's point of view, Jay was supposed to be there for them during the traumatic experience. Despite ringing Kanye's number to check up on them, it still wasn't enough to satisfy Kanye. So, in one of his St. Pablo tours, Kanye put him on full blast and called him out, saying,
"You call me after the you say how you feeling. You want to know how I'm feeling? Come by the house."
At this point, Kanye started lashing out at Jay every chance he got, which made him end up sounding like a desperate ex.
Jay-Z called me. Hey, bro, Jay-Z, I know you got kids. Please don't send him out my head.
And it didn't end there. There were even rumors floating around that Jay-Z had finally had enough of him and stopped their children from playing with each other. Now, while the two were obviously going through a rough patch, the same can't be said about their careers. The Life of Pablo became the first album in music history to go certified platinum through streaming, while Jay focused more on the entrepreneurial side of things on Roc Nation. However, the rap game was still near and dear to Jay's heart, so he dipped his toes into the waters once again by releasing his 13th studio album titled War 44 in 2017, much to positive reception and critical acclaim. But that's not all, as millions of fans also tuned into the album to hear one particular track, Jay-Z. But you got hurt because you did Cool by Ye, gave him $20 million without blinking. This bar confirmed that Jay reportedly handed Kanye $20 million to fund the St. Pablo tour and have it up and running. But what did Jay get in return for showing support to his brother? Well, a couple of Kanye's disrespectful rants on stage instead. He gave you 20 minutes on stage, F was he thinking? Of course, this line talked about Kanye West's 20 minutes on stage, where he negatively disparaged Beyonce and Jay. While the tensions between the throne were at an all-time high, Jay wanted to address it on an interview with Rap Radar, where he said, "What really hurt me was you can't bring my wife and my kids into it. No matter how you look at it, Jay-Z wasn't in the wrong here. Kanye crossed the line by bringing up Beyonce and their children into the mix. Like, Kanye's my little brother. He talked about me 100 times. He even made a song called Big Brother. We've gone past bigger issues." So Jay reiterated their brotherly relationship and that they still had love for each other. But he later added that going after his family clearly bothered him. "But you brought my family into it. That's a problem with me." It sounded like Jay-Z had enough of Kanye's ridiculous rants. He knows that he crossed the line. I know he knows because we've never let this much space go between our disagreements. But Jay didn't only have negative words for his brother. He made sure to include a backhanded compliment too. That's what I like about him. He's an honest person. We'll say things, and he's wrong a lot of times, and we'll confront it. However, Jay still had more to say about their conflict. So he sat down with the New York Times for an interview, but this time on video, and he showed more love to Kanye once more.
I love Kanye. I do. It's a complicated relationship with us. Kanye came into this business on my label, so I've always been like his big brother.
Again, he tells everyone that Kanye was his little brother because Kanye started his career from Jay's label.
And we're both entertainers. It's always been like a little underlying competition there with your big brother there. And we both love and respect each other's art too.
He also acknowledged the competitive nature of the relationship, especially in the genre of hip hop. So, judging from the way Jay sounded, he implied that no matter what happened between the two, they'd still be good. And even though Kanye got more and more unhinged as the years went by, the two looked like they finally squashed their beef. Fast forward to Donda's rollout in 2021, and fans were happily surprised when Kanye played a version of the song Jail that had a Jay-Z verse on it. In their eyes, the song was the final nail in the coffin for their beef, and that the two were now finally on good terms. But come on, this is Kanye we're talking about, so never say never when it comes to burning bridges. You see, Kanye wasn't really satisfied with just having a Jay verse for his 2021 album Donda. He also wanted him to go up on stage with him for the listening party. Everybody that's not here, I'm taking their verses off. I'm taking off Jay-Z's verse. If there's anybody not here on the porch with me, they're not in this version. Even though the Jail version with Jay's verse remained intact and was never removed, this marked the last time the two worked together on a project as of recording this video. After that, there were no public spats or anything like that over the years. However, once 2025 rolled around, that's when everything changed for the worse. Now, if you know anything about Kanye's recent behavior, you probably know how deep he's fallen into rage baiting and lashing out online, especially on Twitter, or X, as some of you call it. But what you might not know is that across the seas of controversial tweets, there were a couple of them aimed at Jay-Z specifically. In one tweet he wrote, "Why did Jay-Z have to say no red hat on Jail? That shit tore me to my soul. We fought about it and he told me either leave that line on there or take my verse off. Me wearing the red hat was the most standout example of me going against the program. Do you guys think he was instructed to say that?" That line Kanye referred to here was the only collab song they've done in recent years, Jail, where Jay made a reference to have Kanye stop his whole MAGA stance, hence the red cap. "Pull up, Donda, I'm with your baby when I touch back road," told him, "Stop all that red cap, we going home." The sad part is, none of us knew that the two butt heads about the line behind the scenes. We fought about it and he told me either leave that line on there or take my verse off. After threatening to remove his verse altogether, Kanye had no choice but to just leave it in there. He also added that him wearing the red hat was supposed to be a highlight, saying, "Me wearing the red hat was the most standout example of me going against the program. You guys think he was instructed to say that?" But this wouldn't be the last time Kanye and Jay-Z had a disagreement brought publicly. You see, a couple of months ago, when Kendrick Lamar performed at the Super Bowl halftime show courtesy of Roc Nation, Kanye felt betrayed and angry that the spotlight wasn't on him. If you're confused, it's because Jay-Z owns Roc Nation and is the main guy responsible for picking who performs the Super Bowl. So, in classic Ye fashion, he aired out his brother on Twitter, typing, "I love Jay-Z and I do feel bad. I always feel like the black sheep in this music show." But that's not all. He also recounted all the times that he felt quote-unquote betrayed by Jay-Z. Hove not coming to my first wedding, him putting Kendrick on Super Bowl over me, or even us just never being invited to that, taking jabs about my red hat on Donda. The saddest part was that he claimed that Jay and Beyonce could have been the ones to help him have custody over his kids following his divorce with Kim. I felt like both him and his wife could have helped me have more leverage with my kids. They could have used their cultural position to not just watch the Kardashians run me over. By that point, Kanye was a magnet for controversy and out-of-line statements. So if you were Jay-Z, you wouldn't want to associate with him at all. But in Kanye's eyes, he was betrayed by both of them. It hurts so much, F both of them, because when I needed them, it was F me. Despite that, Jay-Z was making waves. His Super Bowl halftime show selection was a blast. Kendrick Lamar made history with his performance, and it quickly became the most memorable Super Bowl performance in recent history. So, business-wise, he was definitely flourishing. But the same couldn't be said for his brother, Kanye West. As on March 19th of 2025, the most disturbing and malicious thing Kanye could ever say was uploaded on Twitter. Wait, has anyone ever seen Jay-Z and Beyonce's younger kids? They're R-words. No, like literally. And this is why artificial insemination is such a blessing. Having R-worded children is a choice. In a truly despicable move, not only did Kanye disrespect Jay-Z and Beyonce's children by calling them the R-word, this is probably the final straw for Jay, as it's safe to say we're not getting Watch the Throne 2 anytime soon. Kanye later added that if his tweets do get taken down, he wanted everyone to know how powerless Jay-Z is when it comes to him. If Twitter take my shit down, then so be it. But I need y'all to know Jay-Z or nobody have no power over me. If these series of tweets weren't bad enough, he later added, at least Jay-Z and Beyonce get to raise their R-worded kids. So there was absolutely no reason for Ye to start crashing out like this, as Jay wasn't just openly disrespecting him, he stayed in his own lane and kept it moving. But it seems like Kanye had other plans. In a series of tweets, he proceeded to say just how mad Jay was at him, writing, I know Jay-Z is driving around like damn, I have to get rid of Kanye. I also don't want Jay-Z to get in trouble for getting rid of me. Oddly enough, a day after the malicious tweets aimed at their innocent children, Kanye had another change of heart and apologized. I'm sorry Jay-Z, I gave my life to this industry and thought so many people were my family, but when I need a family on some real stuff, none of these rap guys have my back. But speaking of harsh betrayals, this next duo has one of the worst stories, and it's none other than Lil Durk and Chief Keef. You see, both of them came up repping the Black Disciples and had mutual homies with the potential to put their city on the map together. But instead of building each other up, they sparked a beef so wild it nearly turned deadly. This is the shocking story of how Lil Durk and Chief Keef went from childhood friends to bitter enemies. So what exactly happened? Well, to understand that, we have to go over their come up and place in the quote-unquote war in Chirac. You see, while Chief Keef was fresh out the gate from O-Block, he wasn't the only one on the move. Lil Durk came up in Lamron, another BD-affiliated set just blocks away from O-Block. By 2010, Durk was already dropping tracks while still having one foot in the streets. Sadly, his lifestyle caught up with him when he was caught with a charge for allegedly chasing a guy down the street. Fortunately though, that was his first offense, and he managed to get a plea deal, only spending a few months behind bars. After getting out, Durk started focusing hard on his music. He formed a crew, Only the Family, or OTF, and began releasing songs which would gain some buzz. On the other hand, Chief Keef had started his own group, Glory Boys Entertainment, or GBE, and both crews were linked up heavily. In fact, in a 2012 interview with Complex, Durk called OTF and GBE one big family, stating, we all the same, Only the Family and Glory Boys Entertainment. Everybody's family with two different names. Everybody says GBE and OTF. Everybody grew up together from the same block. Everybody knew each other since they were kids. We grow up with each other, and everyone's just got different music styles right now, doing their own thing. And even though Keef blew up first and signed with Interscope, Durk and Lil Reese actually landed deals with Def Jam before Keef's contract came through. But while most fans remember the music, they forget how deep in the streets these guys were. You see, this wasn't your typical duo. In fact, one of the earliest songs that got Durk's name buzzing also helped fuel one of Chicago's most violent gang wars. The BDs were already clashing with the GDs, but it wasn't an all-out war yet. According to reports, people from Lamron would even play basketball with GDs from Brick Squad with money on the line. But according to reports, one of those games got heated, turning a friendly bet into a beef. A fight broke out, with both sides dissing each other on social media, and probably would have fizzled out, but then Lil Durk dropped L's Anthem, where he fired direct shots at Brick Squad and Wugga World. Rapping, Brick Squad, I say F him, Wugga World with him, so F him. I'm in these streets, no ducking. Then, a young GD rapper named Lil Jojo caught wind of Lil Durk's diss and clapped back with BDK, a track that went even harder than Lil Durk. Jojo called out Lil Durk by name and declared war on every BD in the city. You went with shits to stop effing flexing. F trying to wife a girl, they out here stretching. Dirk say, F Brick Squad, so I can't wait to catch him. Squeeze this 40, now they got him on a stretcher. The song put insane pressure on Dirk and his crew, and while JoJo and Dirk knew each other growing up, it didn't matter. See, this was all about the streets, and tragically, not long after dropping BDK, JoJo was taken out after sharing his location on Twitter, writing, I'm on 069, I'm out here. Though no one was officially charged, and it escalated Chicago's street war to a deadly level. During that time, Dirk's career was heating up, but he still hadn't left the streets. In fact, he was part of the reason why GDs and BDs were at war. Unfortunately, being at war meant that Dirk always needed to be strapped up. Sadly, being ready for the ops would result in another legal battle in 2013. See, while he was still on parole from his 2011 case, Dirk got booked again after a cop spotted him tossing into his car. It was another felony, and this time he was held on a $100,000 bond. And at that point, the cracks in the bond between him and Chief Keef started showing. So how did these two rappers, who were repping the same gang, clash with one another? Well, when Dirk got locked up, most of the OTF and GBE homies jumped on Twitter to show love to him. For instance, Lil Reese wrote, "Street life, it's all the same, free at Lil Durk, hashtag 300. While others tweeted, "Free my OTF brother man, at Lil Durk, hashtag OTF. And SMH on BD, free my boy at Lil Durk, a real scat, hashtag OTF, hashtag squad." See, it felt like every one of Dirk's homies got his back, except for Chief Keef. While others shared their support, Keef tweeted, OTG, hashtag only the glow, which many fans took as a shot at Lil Durk's Only the Family crew. At the time, rumors started flying that Dirk had reached out to Keef to ask him for help posting his 10K bond, but Keef left him sitting in Cook County for a month. Dirk eventually scrapped up the money himself, and when he got out, tweeted a message that could have been a subtle jab at Keef, writing, "I'm back, yeah I'm back, did you miss me or you ain't care? Well, I'm free." A few days later, Keef threw more shade online, tweeting OTG again. However, it looked like one of the OTF associates, Chief Wook, was tired of the disrespect. So, Wook took to Twitter and blasted Chief Keef and his Glory Boys Entertainment, writing, "Y'all know who was putting up all that bond money for folks and them to get out of the jam on BD at Lil Durk. I don't respect no guy that leave their homies in jail. If any of y'all got a bond, we're gonna get them out on BD." But that was just the beginning. He then commented that Chief Keef changed when he got rich, stating, "Money don't change real ones, on BD, me and bro, out Lil Durk still in these streets, we ain't ducking on Lil Mo." And just to clarify to everyone who he was referring to, he didn't hesitate to tag Chief Keef, tweeting, "At Chief Keef, you a hashtag turn up, hashtag OTF." However, Dirk took the more subtle approach. Initially, he just went on to big up Lil Reese and Fredo Santana, stating, "Shout out Lil Reese 300 and Fredo Santana 300 for being 100 and not foo-foo." In other words, Keef's friends who showed support. However, things were just starting to heat up. See, Dirk also claimed that Keef wasn't allowed in the hood anymore, and even suggested he would have been taken out if not for his ties to the 300, writing, "Where are you gonna spend it at? Cause you can't come around here with it. Lol. You would have been taken out if it wasn't for 300. So he warned Chief Keef that this wasn't no Soulja Boy situation, saying, "Warning, I'm not hashtag Soulja Boy, this can get ugly." See, back then, Soulja and Keef had linked up for the tracks Foreign Cars and Say She Love Me, but when Keef's homie Ball Out snatched Soulja's chain, Soulja decided to send threats to Keef. However, Chief Keef didn't care, so Soulja Boy backed down. So after Dirk's Twitter explosion, Keef responded by flexing a new truck he bought, stating, "Just bought a 2013 four-wheeler for 10,000. Yep, he literally said he bought it for 10,000, which was the exact amount Dirk needed to bond out. However, during that time, another one of their homies, D Rose, was also locked up for not being able to afford bond. So Dirk instantly called out Chief about the situation, saying, "All that money but can't go get hashtag D Rose, lol bad enough he on you already." This time, Keef wasn't gonna back down. As a response, he called out Dirk for being a part of a rival gang back in the day, stating, "Can't believe they stunned for the Twitter, that's crazy. Know damn well I know you, just like you know me. Goofy used to be Brick." On top of that, Keef would clarify online that he's forever O-Block, tweeting, "I'm nothing else, I am O-Block." The beef kept growing as more and more stories surfaced. See, D Rose and Dirk weren't the only ones Keef abandoned. In fact, a notorious O-Block named Trey 5 had been locked up for 2 years on a $250,000 bond. O-Block put together $18K for his bail and asked Keef to contribute the last $7.5. Keef promised he would, but never did. Instead, he bragged about spending the same amount on sneakers. So after the outburst on Twitter, Lil Durk came and did an interview with Sway in the Morning. When he was asked about his relationship with Chief Keef, he actually tried to downplay the exchange, saying,
It was just a little bit of words. Ain't nothing major though.
Fortunately, according to Dirk, the two rappers had talked it out, stating,
"Yeah, we had a little few words to be on some, man. We cooling right now, so yeah. So I respected that. We respect each other. We got love for each other, so." You know how that Twitter is. You know, Twitter gonna take everything the wrong way.
He added that Twitter and hip-hop fans were just trying to instigate the beef.
Twitter crazy because, like, that being, like, two of the biggest artists in Chicago, they gonna want to see us beef. Yeah. Yeah, but it ain't gonna happen though. So when I seen it in the Hip Hop Weekly, I'm like, they trying their best, you know? Yeah.
However, with those kinds of altercations, it's safe to say that those weren't just a little bit of words. But just after a few months, Durk would change his stance. In an interview with Vlad TV, he spoke about his relationship with Keef at the moment, saying, "Ain't nothing with us, ain't no enemies, it ain't no friends." He added that the beef wasn't his focus at the moment. Instead, it'd obviously get bigger down the line, but right now, I'm saying I'm focused on me, focused on my studio, my career. I ain't focused on what another man doing right now. Unfortunately, things would take a wild turn months after this interview, and it would soon confirm that the former BD homies were now at war. You see, things reached a boiling point when Boss Top, OJ, and other OTF affiliates allegedly broke into the house Keef was renting with his manager. According to Chief Keef, they stole everything, from jewelry, clothes, and even his daughter's clothes. He tweeted out, "Folks, they stole KK clothes out of room, detergent, deodorant, and all that on Bloods. They stretched that aight." However, no one really knows what went down, but rumors said that Keef showed up mid-robbery and got his chain snatched by Boss Top. During the whole situation, one of Keef's homies was injured, but fortunately though, he survived. Not long after, more drama unfolded. Keef accused his producer Young Chop, the man behind the beat for I Don't Like, of stealing. He even posted on Instagram the very item he allegedly stole, captioning it, "Old Tyree Davis stole. I was at court, boss. He done broke into my house and stole my jewels." And that's when Durk and his boys posted a video flexing a chain allegedly taken from one of Keef's TBE homies, GBE Capo. But Capo wasn't the only one in Keef's crew that got his chain snatched. You see, even before Keef's house was broken into, his homie Ball Out allegedly got his chain snatched after an altercation between Glory Boys and Only the Family at a club. Apparently, Ball Out confronted Durk about it in a club and allegedly put his hands on him over the incident.
When they go in the back, we all go in the back. The Ball Out checked the Durk like you. I heard you saying something about the chain. And then next thing you know, Reese like, "What that chain that on BD jump over there and choke him."
However, Lil Reese would set the record straight years later in an interview.
There was a rumor that you choked him out in the club or something back in the day.
That fake. That false. That came from a hating ass op. That fake. Never ever, never.
But on top of that, Durk denied it in a track with Gucci Mane, calling the rumors fake and warning that when he comes for someone, it gets serious, if you catch his drift. Rapping, "What you know about popping out and trying to hit their face first? They like smirk. You be tripping, better put your case first. Choking who? I heard the rumors. Y'all better play slow. I don't want no guys who you catch. I want the one I paid for." In other words, so he also claimed he put money on someone's head, which fans thought was likely Chief Keef. So after all this chaos, people around them tried to cool things down. Boss Top claimed the house raid was a misunderstanding and said everything got squashed behind the scenes. That wasn't about nothing, we got to the bottom of that, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think Van cleared that up or something, but all that got squashed. You still with Chief Keef? Yeah, that's my boy, my little bro, who's still a very important part of Chicago, to this day, for sure. But while Boss Top patched things up between him and Keef, the Lil Durk and Chief Keef beef was far from over. You see, around the time Boss Top had ended his issues with Keef, Durk found himself tangled in problems not just with Keef, but with other rappers too. While Durk was beefing with Tyga, things took a left turn. Tyga and Durk were both seen working together in the studio with Chris Brown, but trouble started when Tyga took issue with Durk using his girlfriend's name in a verse. Tyga, who was dating Black China at the time, asked Durk to remove her name. Durk agreed without any problems, and even said that the two of them started texting about linking up for a collab. But then Tyga ghosted him. Durk didn't take kindly to that and sent shots at Tyga on his verse for the Chirac remix, rapping, "Heard Tyga sneak dissing on me, tell them thought I'm not right, Tyga got only one name, but that guy ain't got one stripe." He backpacked, so it's easy to get his stuff snatched. Ask Barley Mall to get his stuff back. In Chirac, don't come here, you ain't from here, don't come here. Tyga clapped back by jumping on a remix of Chirac 2, alongside The Game, with lines like, "They thinking that they MCs can't get touched, well it's hammer time. Who the F is Lil Durk? I dust you like Ash and Perp. Your flow whack, my flow crack, got marble floors, your floors crack. Got rap, mice traps. These guys broke, need ankle wraps. Don't ride around in LA if you ain't come on the jet with a strap." And The Game followed up with more direct shots. "I don't mess with no new rappers, they like to sue, no woo. Tyga hit me like Durk dissing, Dirk Nowitzki? Durk who? Never heard of these guys, some of the nerve of these guys. Don't make me put on burgundy, let the AK, I'm serving these guys." You see, both LA rappers did not hold back. However, what shocked everyone though was when Chief Keef posted the track with Tyga in The Game and captioned it, "Boo, go with Blood Note." That move sent a message. Durk was obviously pressed about it, calling out Keef for disrespecting not just him, but the entire city. He ranted on Twitter. Sosa posted Tyga and Game's diss on Instagram. That's saying F Chirac. In Durk's eyes, it was one thing to beef with one of his old homies from the same place, but it crossed the line when Keef kept rocking with Tyga in The Game, West Coast rappers, while Durk was in the middle of a feud with them, and they were from the same city, meaning he still expected some loyalty because they were from the same city. But while Durk was busy with Tyga in The Game, at the same time, Chief Keef was dealing with his own problems. Things heated up between Keef and the Migos after Keef believed they dissed him on the track Broken Knees. Disses were fired back and forth, with Keef telling them to pull up. and the Migos responding on the track Jealousy with Offset, rapping, F you say we dissin', mistletoe chopper, them bullets, come kissin'. Don't enter Atlanta with no permission, leave him stankin' like chitlin'. With Keef signing with the Game and Tyga, Durk went the petty route and linked up with one of the Migos. However, just to get even more disrespectful, Durk even brought them to O-Block to shoot a video. But just a few weeks later, things took a violent turn once again. This time, while the Migos were performing in DC, some Glory Boy affiliates pulled up and started a massive fight. Quavo ended up getting his chain snatched, which he later denied, stating,
Come on, man. Come on. Beat up how? Me. Chains on me still dangling. Give me that, man. I ain't doing
However, Chief Keef later posted a picture flexing Quavo's alleged chain, clowning him over it. Despite everything spiraling, Keef added more fuel when he linked up with Tyga again and dropped the track Now and Later. The track didn't take any direct shots at Durk, but it made it clear which side Keef had chosen, and it looked like the beef would only get uglier. But out of nowhere, news broke that Durk and Keef had squashed everything. Durk explained,
We was in LA. We was politicking. It was just a lot of BS going on before, like a lot of threats. We was like, all right, we gotta FaceTime this one. You know what I'm saying? We squashed it.
They reportedly talked for 3 hours, hashing out everything. Durk added,
I was saying we just squashed it. You know what I'm saying? We from the same hood, so we're talking about different things too, but it's bro. So,
Durk would confirm that the beef was over in recent interviews. Oh, if they bump heads, this is going to happen. No, it ain't ever nothing fun anyways. Know what I'm saying? All the arguments we had on Twitter and all that, you know, it'd go when you mad. You know what I'm saying? Ain't nobody really gonna do nothing to each other. In fact, he even hinted at a collab with Chief Keef, stating, we talked it out, hold a grudge, had a grudge, he had a grudge. Know what I'm saying? We killed it to put it in the middle of the floor. I'm saying it's over with now, so we work it. I say we giving the fans what they want to see. They've been wanting to see that for a long time. And sure enough, after that, they linked up in the studio and dropped the track Decline, letting everyone know that the beef was officially over. Durk and Keef were never super tight, even in the early days. They haven't done much together since, but at least the tension was gone, and their homies weren't trying to get rid of each other or snatching chains anymore. In 2022, Durk even showed love to Chief Keef in front of a massive crowd, letting fans know that no matter what went down before, they still came from the same place and it was all love.
Go live, I'm seeing the word. But I ain't gonna lie. What's up with y'all over here? Y'all
Fortunately, their beef never escalated into actual tragedy, but it still left scars on Chicago's drill scene. However, the relationship showed how quickly fame, money, and street politics can destroy even the most loyal groups. But speaking of loyalty, when this next duo's loyalty was tested, everything fell apart. I'm talking about, of course, none other than Gucci Mane and Waka Flocka. Back in the early 2010s, Gucci Mane and Waka Flocka Flame were one of hip-hop's most recognizable duos. Under the Brick Squad banner, they delivered hits like Ferrari Boys and She Be Puttin' It On, racking up millions of views and dominating the trap scene. Unfortunately, despite their chemistry and success, turns out the odds were stacked against Waka Flocka. However, to understand their complicated relationship, we have to trace it back to Waka's mother, Deborah Ante. Deborah worked in Georgia's Department of Family and Children's Services, where she crossed paths with many local artists. But in 2001, while Waka was grieving the devastating loss of his younger brother Malik, Deborah was asked to help an up-and-coming rapper secure community service, and that rapper was none other than Gucci Mane. Early on, Waka's mom saw Gucci's potential, so she decided to manage him early in his career, and this helped birth her own imprint and management company, Mizé Entertainment. But that's not all. See, Deborah not only managed him, but she welcomed him into her home and treated him like he was her own child. And as luck would have had it, Deborah helped boost Gucci's career to the next level. His debut album, Trap House, didn't just do well, it made it into the top 20 of Billboard's hip-hop charts. And of course, right by his side was Waka Flocka. Unfortunately, as time would prove, Gucci's biggest enemy was not him, but instead himself. And unfortunately, Gucci Mane's destructive tendencies would eventually tear the duo apart. You see, Gucci Mane's career was frequently interrupted by serious legal charges ranging from robbery to assault and even getting rid of someone. And Waka, watching his big homie constantly fall in and out of jail, made him reevaluate his own future. You see, he realized he couldn't rely on Gucci Mane to secure his success. So instead, Waka turned what was once just a side interest in rapping into a legitimate career path. However, there were two major problems with this decision. First, Gucci Mane didn't even want Waka to become a rapper. Waka recalled on Club Shay Shay that Gucci didn't even like the idea of him rapping, stating,
"So it forced me to get in the studio and become a rapper. I remember when I was becoming a rapper, Gucci like, man, I don't like you rapping, man. You need to be a goon." What? Huh? Yeah. So I was like, hell no.
But instead, Waka felt it was about survival and elevating their entire circle. He was determined to make sure that they didn't fall, no matter what. The second problem was envy. As Waka steadily honed his sound while Gucci spent time in and out of prison, the relationship changed. When Waka released his debut mixtape, Salute Me, or in 2009, he was officially on the map. You see, Gucci was still locked up, but when he returned, Waka already had a hit on his hand.
He went to jail like twice in 3 years. So Gucci in jail the whole year I first came out. So by the time Gucci come out, I got one record that's popping till he get out. They're like, what the f?
As Waka's success grew, tensions grew between Gucci Mane and Waka's mother and manager, Deborah Anthony. You see, while Gucci was serving time in Fulton County Jail for a probation violation, speculations began that he was feeling envious and jealous about Flocka's success. And one of the most telling signs of that was when he made the sudden move to fire his entire management team and dissolve his label, So I See Entertainment, all from behind bars. On the surface, it appeared to be about money. Gucci had allegedly accepted deposits for upcoming shows while knowing he was about to return to jail, and then left Deborah's company, Mazay Entertainment, to clean up the mess. But you know what? Despite the sudden split, Deborah claimed there was no bad blood, but insiders hinted otherwise. According to Waka, industry influences were the ones to blame for Gucci's departure. In an interview with Vibe, he stated, "I can say when you're starting to get hot, there are a lot of people that get in your ear. I call that the devil. It'll turn you against the people that helped you. They must have just felt like they needed a change. Maybe they felt like other people can take their career somewhere else. I don't know." But after the split, Gucci began releasing music through his own imprint, 1017 Brick Squad, tied to Warner Brothers, and this new label deal would later be the source of serious drama over the following years. However, despite everything that happened between Gucci and his mom, Waka stayed loyal to Gucci. In a shocking move, he even rebelled against Deborah and signed to Gucci's 1017 Brick Squad label for a mere $50,000.
I never signed to my mother, I signed to Gucci. Oh. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm not saying, at first I used to be mad at him, like, man, this nigga signed me to a fucked up deal. But he didn't even know.
Yep, you heard that right. He signed for just $50,000. Considering the fact that Waka was popping off during that time, this decision raised plenty of eyebrows.
I signed for $50,000. I had $1 million in my pocket already, off doing shows.
Waka later explained that the move wasn't about the money. He believed in Gucci and thought that partnering with his big bro would ultimately lead to greater financial success for both of them. And against his mother's advice, Waka signed the deal simply to empower Gucci, stating,
"Cause I should got a lawyer to look at it. I was being a real, like, no, this my best friend, bro. He got to be a boss. Like, I did that for my to be a boss, and it made him a boss, bro."
After inking the deal, Waka dropped No Hands in August of 2010. This song was massive. This record would become one of his biggest hits, peaking at number 13 on the Billboard charts. While this would have been a triumphant moment for both of them, fans couldn't help but think that something had changed about the duo. Gucci seemed unable to stomach watching his former goon ascend to stardom. The same month No Hands blew up, Waka did an interview with 107.9 where he was asked what his relationship with Gucci Mane was like. But in a shocking revelation, Waka answered, "There's none. We don't talk anymore." And this marked the first time they'd been out of touch since 2005. From there, interviewers endlessly pestered Waka about the relationship. He insisted that there was no drama and that they'd just drift apart. But the streets knew better, especially after Gucci dramatically walked out of an interview the moment Waka's name came.
Alright, well, they come back here to do it. No, the dude over here, the dude that was sitting right here, he said, I got something I need to send by a certain time.
First, they weren't speaking on terms. Now, Gucci's just walking out of an interview. Was there any way back for this duo? Well, fortunately, things appeared to cool down temporarily when Waka was working on his debut album, Flockavelli. In a shocking twist, Gucci attended Waka's listening party for his debut album later that year.
Got a man, got a mistress, a couple of girlfriends, keep my dick hard, and smoking.
The two were seen having a good time, and Gucci even seemed to genuinely enjoy Waka's new tracks. Sadly, whatever peace they made didn't last long. When Flockavelli officially dropped in October of 2010, Gucci's ego and jealousy got the better of him again. You see, Flockavelli shattered expectations, debuting at number 6 on the Billboard 200 and giving the scene major hits like Hard in the Paint and Grove Street Party. Waka showed that he could be taken seriously, achieving on one project what had taken Gucci several years and multiple albums to accomplish. As Waka began to take over, Gucci's life spiraled further out of control. In November of 2010, he landed back in jail for violating probation after punching up in front of police officers. I mean, what was he thinking? He was sent to a mental facility and arrested twice more for firearm offenses within the same period. Waka, however, had a plan. See, after everything they've been through, Waka remained loyal, and he tried to keep Gucci's name relevant. And he did this by dropping a joint album with them titled Ferrari Boys in August of 2011. The project produced several street hits and maintained the 1017 Brick Squad brand while Gucci was still locked up. Around the same time, Waka started building his own empire, launching his Brick Squad Monopoly label and releasing 6 mixtapes that same year. Fortunately, following the release of Gucci, it looked like the duo was back to dominate the scene. In fact, in an interview with DJ Woo Kid, Gucci explained that they were back to communicating almost daily.
See, we the label. See, me and Waka, we are the label. See what I'm saying? We the label.
So y'all actually have meetings and shit?
Just chop it up
every
like,
day.
Who's going out? Which
It's not a
mixtape
day
popping?
that we don't talk to each other.
On top of that, the duo would even release new songs like 50K and Money Pile. However, looking back, Gucci's head was in a whole different place, and it would soon affect the relationship once again. At the time, Gucci was still battling an addiction to lean to cope with the trauma of street life. On the other hand, Gucci also had a lot of pressure and responsibilities on his shoulder, which eventually led to Waka Flocka getting caught in a massive disaster. You see, just when things were starting to get okay again, tragedy struck. In 2012, the relationship between Waka Flocka and Gucci Mane took a dark, irreversible turn. That year, one of Waka's best friends, Slim Duncan, was taken out. Duncan was fatally in December of 2011 while preparing to shoot a music video with Gucci Mane. However, the man responsible was later identified as a rapper named Young Vito, who ironically had a history with Gucci, as the two had previously worked together in 2009 on the track Hey Girl. But it wasn't just Gucci's relationship with Young Vito that made him suspicious. In fact, it was later revealed that Gucci Mane was named as one of the defendants in a wrongful death lawsuit filed in Fulton County State Court. The suit, initiated by Slim Duncan's father, alleged that Gucci and his crew were responsible for Duncan's passing. Although criminal charges were only pressed towards Young Vito, who was still serving a 25-year sentence, Gucci and Waka's relationship would never be the same again. Because think about it, at the time, Waka was still signed to Gucci's label, and Gucci was one of the alleged suspects in one of his closest friends' passing. In an interview with a therapist, you can clearly see and hear the pain he was feeling.
Man, know what he did. Deeper than music, deeper than anything anybody can even imagine. You know what I'm saying? And when it's like that, it's personal. So I was like, let me make me a record to show you that nigga can never be friends. If you cross the line, it's gonna go to something different.
Unfortunately, Waka wasn't traumatized about what happened. In fact, he also felt guilty since he was the one who encouraged Slim to start rapping. So this incident left a lifelong scar and permanently destroyed this duo's relationship. However, while all this was going on, Waka's career was still on the rise. You see, while Waka Flocka was riding high with the success of tracks like Round of Applause featuring Drake and I Don't Really Care with Trey Songz from his 2012 album Triple F Life, things weren't looking good for Gucci Mane. His mixtape struggled to chart in the top 30, and he couldn't secure proper budget from Warner Brothers. Gucci's public behavior also became increasingly erratic. His drug use had started to visibly affect his decision making, and in March of 2013, Gucci shocked the hip-hop world. Gucci Mane took to Twitter and out of nowhere, picked Waka Flocka from Brick Squad 1017, the label they helped build together, writing, Waka Flocka officially dropped off Brick Squad 1017. Big Guap say, give me an offer for this disloyal little guy. Waka wasted no time firing back, tweeting, somebody tell him Gucci Mane to suck. In interviews afterwards, Waka seemed genuinely baffled by the public betrayal. Speaking to MTV, he said, I don't know, honest to God truth. I don't know because I'm the loyalest person you could ever see. I took another man's beef, risked my life, hung out the window, risked my freedom. I never backed in a corner. He added that the only possible reason for this was jealousy, since he believed he had never done anything to destroy his trust. To make matters worse, Waka revealed that he partially owned Brick Squad 1017 and fully owned Brick Squad Monopoly, stating, I own a percentage of Brick Squad 1017 and I own 100% of Brick Squad Monopoly. You can't kick the boss out. As backlash rolled in, Gucci's manager tried to claim that the rapper's Twitter had been hacked, but Gucci's behavior afterwards suggested otherwise. In fact, Waka admitted in a later interview that his relationship with Gucci had been severed ever since Slim Duncan's death, saying, I haven't been cool with Gucci since my best friend got. Even so, when Gucci was sentenced to 3 years in jail in March of 2013, Waka momentarily softened his stance. He publicly stated that he wouldn't fire shots at someone who couldn't respond. However, maybe Waka was too loyal for his own good, because when he was interviewed by Montreality, it looked like he was trying to forgive Gucci and downplay their beef.
We went two paths in our life. Ain't no beef, no animosity. It's just that me and him see two different goals. You know what I'm saying? Like, I guess we both be at the finish line. We just going our own routes.
Sadly, any hopes of reconciliation soon crumbled, because right after this interview, Waka would soon contradict those statements at a live show, stating,
Ran up on my bus, got burned, now he trying to sue me. Gucci, feel that nigga goofy.
And as their feud intensified, Waka would ride the wave of his mainstream success, and little by little, fans argued that the apprentice had become the master, and through the following months, the duo would once again trash each other online. As Gucci's career fell off and Waka's rose, Gucci publicly offered to sell Waka's contract for $1 million, tweeting, I will sell all rights to Waka Flocka Flame for $1 million. His next 3 albums and my percentage of his publishing, mechanicals, and touring. Who want this little guy? Hashtag WW3. Waka instantly fired back by giving advice to young children, writing, kids, please don't do substances. At Gucci 1017 is the perfect outcome, lol. On top of that, Waka believed that all of this was capped since his hits were Gucci's only way of making money during that time, stating,
Man, I be trying to buy that contract. He's a lie, man. He's surviving off that money. I don't blame him. Them ASCAP checks coming.
See, at one point, Waka claimed that his music was making Gucci anywhere from $20,000 to $30,000 a month from the deal they signed back in 2010. However, 2013 wasn't all bad for Gucci. In fact, he was still able to drop multiple mixtapes that year, like Trap God 2 and Trap God 3. On top of that, one of Gucci's biggest signings happened that year when he signed Young Thug, who would later become a major force in Atlanta rap, and Pee Wee Longway. Unfortunately, over time, their beef wasn't limited to social media. In fact, Waka would eventually straight up diss Gucci in his track Ice Cream Co., where he accused Gucci of being jealous and greedy, rapping things like, "I've been a real guy since 2nd grade, and when I met Gucci, I thought I met a real guy until he crossed the line. Then he became a F-word. And overstep your boundary, I'll revoke your blood pass. You used to be my guy, now you jealous, where the love at? No loyalty, you put money over all that. F this industry, because the streets know the real facts." Unfortunately, just a month later, things would get even wilder when the beef spilled into the courtroom. In another surprising move, Gucci Mane filed a lawsuit against both Waka Flocka and his mother, Deb Antony. Yep, the very person who gave him a home and a career. The allegations included fraud, racketeering, theft, and breach of contract. On top of that, Gucci accused Deb of stealing a ring and necklace and misappropriating company funds for personal use. He also claimed that she was inflating expenses. For instance, her manager's fee of 20% was charged to the label to pocket the difference. Unfortunately for Waka, just as he was in the middle of his first and wildest rap beef, another devastating blow happened. You see, what happened next completely changed Waka as a person, and it would soon force him to step off the rap scene. In December of 2013, his younger brother, K.O. Red, who was also a rapper, tragically passed away. Waka recalls the day he lost his brother in an emotional interview.
When my little brother killed himself, I ain't pick up the phone. And I seen him call. I'm like, let me call K.O. back as soon as this shit over with. I call him back, no answer.
He called you before he...
I don't know who else he called, but what if I'd have picked that call up? Like, that's when I seen like, yo, this rap shit.
The loss was unbearable. According to Waka, he still hasn't gotten over it to this day.
Right. It was a selfish act.
Right.
I still ain't forgive him for it, to be honest. So that's probably a lot why it don't hurt me a lot. But man, that's crazy. It crushed me. I ain't even gonna lie. Yeah, it's crazy. I still ain't like deal with it. I ain't put it in the back of the burner. It just like shit happened.
The tragedy forced Waka to reevaluate his life. He admitted that rap beef and industry drama had distracted him from the people who truly mattered. And this was Waka's turning point, and it changed his perspective on music forever. After his brother's passing, Waka slowly withdrew from the rap game and stopped releasing studio albums and instead stuck to mixtapes, even trying out an EDM album titled Turn Up God. However, his label didn't really like the idea and wanted him to go back to his usual sound, but Waka just didn't post that, and he was basically tired of all the shenanigans that came with fame. Unfortunately, with all the losses he had to endure over the years, it took a massive toll on Waka, and he later confessed that he coped with the pain through substance use, stating,
"The only way I could get through it, I had to stay high."
Okay.
So I'm like, I'm gonna get high. I'm gonna pop me some pills. That's how I'm gonna do it. That was my therapy.
Okay.
That was my addiction.
It took Waka years to get sober, and it made him stop doing the things that he loved.
It took me like 4 years, almost 4 solid years to get to one, man. I couldn't even put new music out.
Wow.
Cause I ain't feel it. I was going too hard. I feel like I was keeping it too real.
But once he did, he realized the full extent of how badly he'd been taken advantage of.
Label, man, I had beef with my label from day one. Beef, I signed for 50 grand, $50,000. And I had $250,000 in my pocket. Cause I wanted to sign a little deal just to buy myself, cause Gooch was in jail. I'm like, I gotta keep it up.
The deal he signed with 1017 and Warner Brothers had locked him into an oppressive contract. See, despite his massive success, multiple hit records, and hundreds of shows a year, he was still being told he hadn't paid back his advance.
Y'all, like, I told him, like, all right, yo, did I recoup yet? They're like, nah, you ain't recoup. I'm like, how did I not recoup? I got 400 shows a month. Yeah, I mean, every record I got was popping. I'm like, how did I not recoup? They just lied on the paperwork.
This didn't make sense for him. Even after leaving the label in 2013, Waka found himself still stuck in a contract. The label and Gucci controlled his YouTube, prevented him from running ads, and according to him, siphoned off his streaming money. So much for being a boss.
Right now, Warner Brothers say they own my YouTube. How do y'all own my YouTube? I'm not trying to be ignorant, you know what I mean? I'm trying to let the lawyers do it. Me personally, I know half of their kids' colleges.
Unfortunately for Waka, that wasn't all. In fact, in 2017, Waka revealed that Gucci had sold the name Brick Squad to the label, stripping them of their intellectual property. And with that, Waka was left with a fraction of what he was owed. So, did they ever fix their relationship? Well, in the years that followed, Waka Flocka's passion for rap has mostly faded. Despite being a pioneer in bringing an aggressive, trap-inspired sound to the mainstream, personal and professional betrayals derailed his momentum. These days, Waka's turned his attention to reality TV, crypto, and mental health. And while he's made peace with his career, Waka Flocka and Gucci Mane's relationship is never going to be the same again. After Gucci's highly publicized transformation following his release from prison in 2016, many fans wondered if the beef would finally be squashed. But while Gucci's physical state improved, his mindset towards Waka seemed largely unchanged. Over time, Waka's stance on Goofy softened, however. Where he once felt disrespected and betrayed, he began viewing their fallout differently. In his eyes, They were just two highly ambitious individuals torn apart by the ruthless music industry. In 2018, Waka even took to Instagram to officially leave all his past beefs behind, including his feud with Gucci, stating, "I don't got no more beef, arguments, smoke, anger towards nobody. If we ever had problems, beef, anything, I'm telling you right now, for me, it's over." On top of that, he claimed that he was really ready to squash the beef, saying, "Hey Gucci, let's chat. Sit the hell down. All that playing is over with. You know how to get to me, big dog? You call me." But it didn't matter. Gucci, even in a so-called rehabilitated state, wasn't ready to let go of old grudges. His stubbornness remained. And in a 2017 interview with Hot 97, Gucci addressed the situation briefly.
You and Waka at all?
No, I haven't spoken to Waka in 3 years.
3 years? It's a long time.
Not that long. That's people I ain't spoke to in 10 years.
And when he asked if there's a possibility of reconciling with Waka, he just stated,
"No, it's just done. I wish him well."
So it's pretty clear we'll never see a reunion between Gucci Mane and Waka Flocka. And the possibility for this next duo, Lil Durk and King Von, having a reunion is also impossible. Although most rap duos fell apart due to misunderstandings and beefs, this next rap duo met a more tragic end. The King Von and Lil Durk were often touted as one of Chicago's greatest duos of all time. While we can't deny that both have had their fair share of disturbing allegations and crimes over the years, their talents as rappers cannot be understated. So how did they link up? Now, while King Von was out in the streets, he was finally caught and arrested. Shortly after spending some time in jail, Lil Durk reached out to him and the two hit it off. And by the time that Von was finally free, Lil Durk was there to support him and help him break into the mainstream music industry. Thanks to Durk's guidance, Von's career was flourishing after he released his much-awaited debut single, Crazy Story, in 2018, racking up 80 million views on YouTube as of recording this video. So far so good, right? Well, unfortunately, King Von and Lil Durk's love for the streets of Chicago would become the start of their many, many problems.
I just woke up one day, I was bad as hell.
You see, back in 2019, while Lil Durk and King Von were out in Atlanta, a fight broke out between their entourage and a group of other men. And knowing King Von, he immediately jumped the gun, firing 18 shots. Although Lil Durk was a great mentor to Von when it came to rap and conducting business, he was also an enabler. After all, the two of them were cut from the same cloth. So Lil Durk didn't exactly shy away from gang activity. But anyways, the victim who was hit later claimed that the duo stole his chain and many more accusations that they were obviously guilty of. In the end, the two were charged with attempted, aggravated, gang activity, and possession of a firearm. The crazy part was, the two were making hundreds of thousands of dollars off their music. And Durk was a multi-millionaire. Keep in mind, he owned their label, OTF. So the fact that they were ready to rob someone violently was very surprising and honestly wild. All over just $30,000. Still, Durk became cautious after the incident. For example, when they sat down with The Breakfast Club for an interview, you can see the host Charlamagne the God brought up a somewhat volatile topic, which Von was more than happy to respond to.
That line, have you ever been convicted of? No experiences doing nothing, I ain't.
But after noticing that his friend was getting way too comfortable answering some suspicious questions, Lil Durk stopped Von from self-snitching by doing this. It was fair to say that he looked out for Von every step of the way. Keep in mind that this became a long-standing issue when it came to them, because despite having all the money in the world, they couldn't keep themselves out of trouble. However, along with the crime and casualties that followed the two constantly, so did the great music. Lil Durk hopped on Von's hit song Crazy Story, continuing to boost the two stocks once more. The two OTF members had the rap game in a chokehold, getting over 100 million views on YouTube and peaking at number 81 on the Billboard charts. But knowing King Von, he was more drawn to committing crime than actually making music. So not even Lil Durk could stop him from dropping $100,000 to take out his arch nemesis and fellow gangbanging rival, FBG Duck.
Alleged members of Chicago's O-Block gang have been convicted in the 2020 murder of a rapper known as FBG Duck. Duck's real name was Carlton Weekly. He was shot and killed shopping on Oak Street in the Gold Coast.
3 months after they took out FBG Duck, King Von suffered the same gruesome fate. For some context, tensions were high between him and NBA Youngboy after the latter allegedly refused to do a song with him. Von even promised that it was on site if he ever saw NBA Youngboy and anyone associated with them. And here's where Quando Rondo comes into play. See, he's a fellow rapper who's repping 4K Trey, aka Youngboy's set. And although him and Von were cool for a moment, the relationship quickly crumbled once the beef started. One night in Atlanta, Von and his friends were out late night partying, when suddenly they noticed that Von just vanished.
At night, I don't know what it was, maybe it's God timing, I don't know what it was, but Von completely went on his own course.
So where did he run off to that night? Well, he spotted Quando Rondo beside a car and walked up to him. But instead of laughing together like friends, Von immediately started throwing hands. However, Quando wasn't alone. He had his goons with him and they were more than ready to protect him from Von. And in all the chaos, something hit him. According to reports, 2 police officers who were working at that particular club or lounge noticed the altercation and engaged some of the people involved. There was an exchange with the police as well. The report reads that 2 people passed away and 1 person, rumored to be King Von, was brought to the hospital in critical condition. Unfortunately for him, he succumbed to his injuries and passed away that night. Sadly, Lil Durk wasn't around to have his back that night, and what was even more heartbreaking is the way he found out about Von's incident. The heartbreaking news about King Von reached his friend Lil Durk through the comment section of his own Instagram Live. See, while he and his entourage were chilling on Instagram Live, fans started to write comments in droves telling them that his friend had just been At first, he tried to play it off and act like nothing was wrong, probably thinking that fans were only trolling him and trying to stir up a reaction. But as the live went by, his whole demeanor changed, and even though he was still dancing along with the song, there was a chilling moment caught on camera when Durk realized there might be some truth to the comments. After losing his dear friend, it was Lil Durk's turn to slide and pull up for Von, at least according to fans online who told him to get revenge for whoever was responsible for Von's passing. To add to that, all eyes were on him to see if he was really going to do so, which was a lose-lose situation for Durk. You had people like 6ix9ine constantly clowning him for grieving instead of sliding immediately. Newski, now Von, he's still rapping, go pick up a. Not only that, he kept egging Durk to do something about it, which only made the phrase #SlideForVon go viral.
Found it.
They know the exact that put a 10 in King Von and he died there by himself. Why nobody slid for that? I don't see you on Instagram saying, yo, go slide for that, man. Y'all know what y'all saying?
It got so bad that Lil Durk's own subreddit even made a poll asking if he was ever gonna avenge him. Despite that, Durk's career was still flourishing, but the pain of losing Von and the fans who were always there to troll him finally got to him. So, on February 22nd, 2022, he released a single titled Aha, where he placed himself in the shoes of others who tried to stop him from getting revenge by rapping, "Don't respond to Von, I'm like, F it, trippin', go get your, let's get it, yeah, let's get it." He even taunted NBA Youngboy, Quando Rondo, and the entirety of OTF to do something to him if they wanted to. But the thing is, this wasn't just a way for Durk to show that he had forgotten what happened to Von. It was also a warning to those responsible for taking his friend's life, because in August that year, this happened.
Right now, the search is on for 3 people who police say at a Savannah rapper, a member of his entourage.
In case you haven't pieced it together, the rapper that was shot was none other than Quando Rondo.
A fight taken to the streets and this chaotic scene, the ending of a shooting that started in Los Angeles, California. Sheriff's deputies pulling out a man who had been shot in an SUV. Savannah rapper Quando Rondo, a passenger in that car, frantic at the sight.
After taking out Quando Rondo's cousin, Lil Pop, Lil Durk's revenge spree wasn't over. He wanted nothing more to get rid of Quando himself. His hate towards him got so deep that he even sampled Quando screaming out in pain after his cousin was. However, in 2024, everything came crashing down when he was caught lacking by authorities. Durk, 32, is charged with conspiracy to commit M-word for hire in the slaying of Xavier Robinson, 24, who was taken out on August 19th of 2022, according to an FBI affidavit released Friday. And it wasn't just him. 5 other members of Durk's Chicago-based rap collective, Only the Family, or OTF, have also been arrested, and at least 2 or more arrests may be forthcoming, according to court documents that have been filed. The crazy part was, he made it known around the streets that whoever gets to cap Quando Rondo was going to be rewarded handsomely, which ended in Lil Pop becoming a collateral in the feud. So today, one half of the duo has passed away, and the other will likely never see the streets again. Now, we've spoken a lot about generational rap duos that would have dropped some real heat had they stuck together throughout the years, but what about producer duos who've had their fair share of troubles working together? Well, that's where the Neptunes come in. See, to say that the legendary producer duo made up of Pharrell Williams and Chad Hugo revolutionized R&B and hip-hop would be an understatement.
We'd see each other at band camp, and then sometimes, you know, I would go to his house to play because he had like Casio keyboards, and we would like make little tracks. And
while still in high school, the duo were allegedly highly sought after because of their talent, and by 2001, they even made their own record label named Star Trek Entertainment and had a group called Nerds that inspired tons of artists that we see nowadays. If you want to know more about their work, they produced massive hits like Jay-Z's I Just Wanna Love You, several Britney Spears songs, and of course, most of Pusha T and Malice's Clips catalog. However, there's a reason why we only ever hear about Pharrell Williams nowadays, and not from Chad. See, the latter tends to keep to himself and isn't really comfortable in the spotlight in the same way that Pharrell is. But whenever the opportunity came, Pharrell never shied away from complimenting Chad.
Chad is incredible. He's a great musician that in the house is just.
As for Chad, he reciprocated the same feelings and straight up called Pharrell a genius.
So what do you think he would describe you as?
I don't know.
Fire dude. Oh yeah, he's a genius.
It's genius.
Yeah.
But as the years went by, the two stopped working together, and today they haven't worked on a single song together since 2020. And seeing how Pharrell is busy with fashion and production on his end, nobody expected that the two were having some friction behind the scenes. However, these rumors were quickly disproven in 2024 when news broke out that Chad Hugo allegedly took Williams to court, accusing Williams of trying to monopolize the naming rights to the Neptunes. Here's what happened. Chad took issue with Pharrell attempting to register trademarks under their production moniker and in turn violating their agreement to split everything equally. They've agreed to split everything 50-50 between each other for over 30 years now, so to have Pharrell come and try to trademark the name made Chad feel some type of way. Apparently, Pharrell tried to file 3 separate trademark applications for the Neptunes under his company PWIP Holdings LLC, one for streaming music, another for music videos, and another for live performances. It got so bad that Chad and his lawyers even accused Pharrell of doing outright fraudulent practices such as the trademark. Honestly, it's a bummer to see the two and their relationship sour like this after carving out such a successful career for themselves. To make it sadder, Pharrell confirmed that he and Chad were no longer on speaking terms. When asked by the outlet if the former collaborators are currently on speaking terms, Williams said they were not. No, but I love him, and I always wish him the absolute best, and I'm grateful for our time together. And finally, as a thank you for watching this long, I just wanted to add this bonus segment of Playboi Carti and Lil Uzi Vert. So without further ado, here you go.
Really, Carti and Uzi. It's your boy, Playboi Carti, Lil Uzi Vert.
There might be a Uzi Playboi Carti collab project in the works. Is that something that's coming?
But before we talk about their collab album, how did they even get that close in the first place? Originally meaning through A$AP Rocky, back in 2016, both Uzi and Carti were coming up together. That year, Uzi landed himself a XXL freshman spot, and the next year, Carti did too. Pretty soon, they found themselves as the leaders of the new generation of rap, and it's clear they were both destined for stardom. They became close friends, and that's when they began collaborating, all the way back in 2016, when they both could be considered underground. In the beginning of that year, they dropped their first song together, Left Right, which had a music video, and it also resulted in a 9-city tour of the country, the Left Right Tour. Later that year, Uzi brought Carti on his song Of Course We Ghetto Flowers on his Love tape, and in May of 2017, both the rappers appeared on the A$AP Mob's Cozy tapes. Carti would then return the favor and one-up Uzi by having Uzi on his self-album titled Twice, on Lookin' and Woke Up Like This. 2 tracks that would go on to be very successful, especially Woke Up Like This, which became one of Carti's biggest hits. So early on, it was clear that they were very special as a duo, as anything they would drop would become a guaranteed hit. So on September 28th of 2017, when Carti posted to his Snapchat and Twitter and made the announcement, Uzi Carti, Carti Uzi, tape loading, it made fans go crazy, basically announcing that Uzi and him would both be working and dropping a collaborative project called 1629. 1600 was Uzi's block from Philadelphia, and 2900 was Carti's block in Atlanta. So 1629 was perfect. At this time, Carti and Uzi's careers were very intertwined as well. They had plenty of music together, they shared the same fans, and made similar music at times, but both brought something different to the table, almost perfectly complementing each other. Uzi was the fruity, bubbly, happy rapper, and Carti was the cool, nonchalant, more mumble rapper. Except we never got to see the project come to fruition. We know for a fact that a music video was recorded for it, and there's even a track list. So what happened to the original project? Well, it's something that plagued many artists' careers. In fact, Uzi and Carti are actually some of the textbook victims when it comes to this. Let me explain. When Carti first announced the project, Carti and Uzi both had some of the most cultish fan bases on the internet, so it made fans go wild. And it wouldn't take long for them to start getting the songs themselves. So 1 month after the project was announced, in October of 2017, something horrible happened for Carti and Uzi's upcoming project. Break the Bank, the lead single for the project, was leaked. At the time, fans were super hyped because they thought this meant the project was coming very soon. What they didn't realize was this was the first of many leaks to plague the release of 1629 and reportedly even caused some serious issues between Carti and Uzi's friendship. Break the Bank was supposed to be a lead single, and there was even a music video shot of them for the song. So the song leaking, along with the music video later on, was not great news for them because it meant they had to re-record and find a new song for them to shoot a music video and lead the project with. But for the time being, they wouldn't let one leak phase them, and they'd go headstrong into the rollout. So only days later, on October 19th, Carti announced he and Uzi would be going on tour together for 1629. And remember, this isn't the first time the two had gone on tour together. To the fans, it was completely possible, and why else would they go on a nationwide tour for the album if it wasn't even gonna drop? However, less than 24 hours after the tour was announced, Uzi announced he wouldn't be going on tour with Carti, writing, "Not going on tour with Carti, need to focus. But you gotta understand that a whole tour being announced is no joke. There's a lot of planning, safety deposits, staff, transportation, etc. that had to go into all of this. Just a lot of resources, and for it to all be wasted, something must have happened, because the tour was completely planned out. Tickets were already on sale online. G Herbo and SOB RBE were announced as special guests, and they were about to hit every major city in the country. So fans were really confused why it all came crashing down. And it was at that moment that fans realized that leaking Break the Bank and a couple others may have very well led to the cancellation of the tour, and then as a byproduct, the entire album. You see, after Break the Bank was leaked, more songs such as I'm With the Squad began to leak as well. And each of those songs that were leaked were meant to be officially released. However, once it did leak, it ruined plans for the album to drop, as they no longer had enough music and they didn't have enough time to re-record the songs before going on tour and rolling out the album. At least that's what it seemed like. But hey, it had only been 2 months and many fans thought we might be overreacting. And for literally 10 minutes, they were right, because something very weird happened in the following 2 months. In the middle of December, on the 7th, Cardi took to his Instagram to post a short video teaser for Cardi and Uzi's song Break the Bank, which he said was set to release on December 29th, 2017. So to fans, it seemed like behind the scenes, Cardi and Uzi had taken care of everything and that the project was ready to go. However, 10 minutes after it was posted, the snippet was deleted from Cardi's Instagram, and as we all know, there is no song called Break the Bank that was released in 2017 by both of them. And it was the last piece of info about 1629 we'd get in a long time. Later in 2018, things got worse when Cardi and Uzi's songs Bankroll, Big Bang, and Throw It Up were all leaked. These were all songs that were rumored to be on the original 1629, and when these songs leaked, the idea of Cardi and Uzi's original 1629 project had completely been eradicated. It's very common these days that we see the harmful effects of leaks, either ruining projects, not having them released in time, and in the worst case, not releasing them all. Cardi and Uzi are each victims that have had many of these things happen to them, and 1629 itself is a perfect example of leaks ruining the release of a project. But there's still a lot of speculation as to whether or not leaks were the reason why 1629 never dropped, as over the years fans have made many other excuses. But here's why there's a pretty strong case for leaks ruining the original release of 1629 other than what I just explained to you. It's because Uzi absolutely hates leakers and has a history of it. For example, he hates them so much, he once confronted a hacker in person and cussed him out for leaking his music on video.
Like I should be out your frail. Stand up. Skinny. Sit down. What's wrong with you? Hacking on my motherfucking leaking my music. That's my goddamn job. Goddamn up relationship with goddamn other mother that I with over.
The other time someone leaked his music, his producer Forza, Uzi left him homeless on the cold streets of Philadelphia. So these leaks definitely left a sour taste in his mouth. And as we know, Uzi was the one who canceled the 1629 tour and didn't go through with the official release of the lead single, Break the Bank. But other than the leaks, there was another reason why Cardi and Uzi stopped dropping. It was due to the cracks that were slowly forming in their relationship, which stemmed from their, at the time, huge difference in popularity. Many forget, but back then, a huge criticism of Cardi by many rap fans and even fans of his own was, hey, out of 3 of your songs with certifications, Uzi is in 2 of them. And to be honest, probably was a big factor in them going platinum. That is Lookin' and Woke Up Like This, by the way. And this wasn't even that out of pocket, because Uzi was a superstar by this point and Cardi was not quite there. Let me explain. The year before, Uzi had already established his name for himself through some pretty big singles like Money Longer and You Was Right, as well as 2 very big tapes. In 2017, Bad and Bougie hit #1 on Billboard, and EXO Tour Life was also Billboard topping, followed by Love Is Rage 2, which debuted at #1, had insane commercial success and critical acclaim, compared to Cardi, who had a breakout album but didn't quite sell as much as Uzi, or just wasn't on the same level as Uzi. So with fans pitting them together and poking at the idea that Cardi could not really be successful without an Uzi cosign, saying things like Magnolia was just a lucky hit, naturally Cardi would want to prove himself and not drop that much with Uzi. However, they were still good friends, and Uzi and Cardi would still both speak very highly of each other.
Hey, listen here. My brother Cardi just dropped the best goddamn album that I ever heard. So let me tell you something about Cardi. He's really psyched out. Me and Cardi be really having we
Uzi be in the studio together at all times, and we just be knowing, you know what I'm saying? We're a team.
And just get along.
To the store, yeah, for the love, yeah. Hey,
went back to the stuff.
What? Yeah, you feel me? It's just lit. That's all. It's all about being lit.
But the hype and chance for 1629 to drop was far from over. Fans still wanted the project, and both Uzi and Cardi were asked about it multiple times. In 2018, Cardi was asked about the album in an interview, where he quickly dodged the question but gave fans something, basically confirming that they had a lot of music. 100 songs is like hours and hours of music. That year, Die Lit dropped, featuring Shuda, which became Cardi and Uzi's last official release ever and a classic, becoming one of their most streamed songs ever, sitting at 600 million streams on Spotify. And in March of 2019, Uzi was also asked by fans and had this to say.
Y'all asked me one thing about Cardi. Y'all said that why we ain't dropped 1629, bro. I said I don't got the song. I don't have to.
And after that, fans were like, okay, if Uzi says, yeah, we don't have the songs, 1.5 years after the album was announced, things might not be looking so good. By then, it was 2019, and it had been 2 years since Cardi self-titled, while Uzi had just begun promoting Eternal Take. So both of their albums seemed a bit far away, and this was when the hype for 1629 was once again at a very high point. However, on March 6th of 2020, Uzi finally dropped Eternal Take, and Cardi wasn't. But by then, there were much bigger problems at hand. Rumors began bubbling up, and fans were contemplating Cardi and Uzi's friendship. They were no longer constantly seen with each other like they once were. They were no longer collabing. They weren't even really acknowledging each other online like they once used to. Remember, from 2016 to 2017, they were inseparable. But then, all of a sudden, once 2019 hit, they weren't even seen with each other once. So fans began to get the idea that Uzi and Cardi did not like each other anymore. And by the end of 2019, Uzi would confirm fans' suspicions. When a fan asked him on Twitter, "Are you and Cardi on good terms?" Uzi said no. The next day, another fan asked again, "What about you and Cardi?" Uzi wrote, "Nothing, I just took a different route." Which is fair, but these responses confirmed the speculation from fans that they were no longer on good terms. However, very quickly, Uzi squashed it and said they weren't really beefing. So once again, fans began to get hope. But it didn't take long for things to get rocky again. In 2020, the beef was rekindled after Cardi posted his cover art for his highly anticipated single, At Met, and Uzi posted his own version with him on it instead, which fans took as a diss. Then he made some more sneak disses that weren't very sneaky. On Twitter, he went on a tweet spree saying, "This about to be fun." His producer, Molly Raw, said, "New Cardi slap." Uzi quote tweeted it and laughed. Uzi then wrote Playboy Cardi with an upside down smiley. Fans took these as clear disses. I mean, who wouldn't? But hey, maybe Uzi was just poking fun to get some more exposure for his good friend Cardi to drop, right? And that seemed to be what was happening, because right after, Cardi would tweet Monday, and Uzi would tweet at Playboy Cardi, "So you dropping Monday? Bet it, Monday." At the time, fans took this as, oh, they're about to drop a single together on Monday, possibly leading to the rollout of a new joint album together. But then Monday came and went, and nothing happened. Once again, fans were extremely confused. They weren't sure if this was beef, or they were actually going to drop, or they were just pulling at their heartstrings. But a month later, the issues were resolved. Uzi explained that their beef was real, saying, "Not fake, we already linked and we good." Cardi then tweeted, at Lil Uzi Vert, "I love you, twin." And Uzi said, "You already know I love you back." And then on March 18th of 2020, Uzi retweeted an unreleased collab with Cardi, their song Big Bank, once again stirring up rumors that 1629 was well on its way. So things were really looking up, and fans were like, okay, we might be getting this album. Even if they were being a little delusional, but you can't really blame them. That year in 2020, we saw the first photo of Uzi and Cardi together in a long time, seemingly in a studio where they recorded a song called SRT, which was part of a second version of 1629, as the OG song itself was called 1629. This was also when Cardi's son was being born, if you know, you know, and what birthed Cardi's label, Opium. Just a random fact. However, overall, it was just a cool moment to see them reunite, and it was also when fans were waiting for a whole lot of Reds. So 1629 was definitely put on the back burner. In 2020, Uzi dropped a single Sasuke, and fans believed Uzi bit Cardi's baby voice in the red cover was meant to be a diss towards Cardi. But this was all confirmed to be fan rumors, and once Cardi and Uzi were seen together in public, it was basically confirmed that they were close friends again. So fans thought to themselves, hey, at least there's going to be a feature on Whole Lotta Red, right? Spoiler alert, there was no song of them together on Whole Lotta Red. However, after all of this confusing news, there was a long dry spell of any news regarding a Cardi and Uzi collab. But in 2021, Uzi went on Adin Ross's stream and dropped a ton of information about 1629 and the state of him and Cardi's relationship. And what he said kind of changed what everyone thought of 1629 altogether. Uzi explained that he actually really wanted to drop 1629.
Okay, someone said if you could have a collab album with somebody, I think I've asked you before probably, but like who would it be? Any collab album with somebody.
If I could drop a collab album right now, I'd probably drop. The first collab album I want to drop is 1629.
That's you and Cardi, right?
You tell me.
But Aiden Ross said, hey, we already have it. It leaked.
Well, I hate to break it to you. I already have all the leaks, so I will be playing them on stream after this. You hang up.
And this is kind of where Uzi dropped a crazy fact. He explained that 1629 was recorded in London, and not even he had the songs, so how could the public have them?
You talking about you had the leaks, but we recorded 1629 in London, and nobody had them. I don't even have them, so ha.
The album's done?
And him and Cardi had an insane amount of unheard music together.
And Cardi got over, like really, no lie, we got over like new, and I'm talking about from 2020 to 2022, because I had saw Cardi in New York in 2022. From 20 to 2022, me and Cardi probably got, and these is not including old songs that y'all never heard, probably like 40 songs.
Wow, that I've just never heard.
That I never even talk about because it ain't even like, you know, that shit. What the like,
This was some pretty crazy news for Uzi and Cardi fans.
That's crazy.
And Uzi said that the release of 1629 was not only possible, but just between him and Cardi, no one else.
I don't even talk about it because it ain't even nothing. It ain't even nothing to talk about. That's for me and bro. Whatever me and bro figure out, then we figure it out and put it out. But me and bro got millions. We got a lot of songs. And when I say millions of songs, 40 songs, a lot of songs. That's like my like, that's my collab tape right there. That's my tape that I know, like, is like, if that all the way happens and get put together the right way, then that's him. That's him.
Damn, bro, y'all really got
and for the ladies, that's her.
And he finally said Cardi was his brother.
You gotta collect. Damn.
That's my brother. What the f*** you expect? What you thought? Fake brothers?
Damn.
No matter what be going on, boy, I understand.
Later that year, Cardi and Uzi also had a reunion at Rolling Loud where they hugged each other and confessed their love for each other. Pause. The following year, Cardi also responded to the idea of them having a collab album. In an interview with XXL, he was asked, "You have a relationship with Lil Uzi Vert. You were going to put out a project together. What happened to that?" Cardi responded, "I love Uzi. I forgot to mention him. I love Uzi to death." Followed by, "Will we ever hear the project?" He said, "Uzi is working on mad music right now. I don't know if he's serious about a lot of things, but I hope that one day we can change the world with that for sure." Even Kanye agreed they were the future.
Well, really, you know what it is? It's always two. It's always two at a time. You know what I mean? It's really Cardi and Uzi. It's really Cardi and Uzi. Playboy Cardi and Uzi.
However, in March 26th of 2023, Uzi posted a picture to Instagram saying, "Me and my love about to take over the world," tagging Cardi. And once again, this stirred up a lot of conversation around them, and especially their collab album, 1629. But of course, there wasn't any news about this afterwards. It was just another dry spell. But hey, it was 2023, and Uzi was about to release his next album after Eternal Take. So fans once again got their hopes up and believed there's gonna be another Cardi feature on it, right? Nope, nothing happened. But Uzi's team did accidentally drop one of Cardi and Uzi's songs on YouTube by accident. Yeah, someone definitely lost their job that day. So if Cardi and Uzi had teased and tugged at fans' heartstrings for so many years and talked about collabs together, only to not collab for almost 6 years, why? What could possibly be the reason why two of the biggest artists of this generation didn't drop an album that was guaranteed to be legendary? Well, there are a couple reasons. The first is Cardi probably wanted Uzi to initiate the project because Cardi had shown Uzi love 3 times since the last time Uzi did. Twice on a self-titled project and once on Die Lit. So he may have thought it was up to Uzi to put him as a feature on one of his songs or initiate the project himself. So maybe it's just a weird relationship thing that we don't really understand because that's what friends do. But another reason is they just might not be that close anymore. They've taken quite different paths and their music isn't really that similar as it once was. And at the end of the day, we don't really know what it's like between them. The final reason is that it's just not as simple for Uzi and Cardi, who who are global superstars at this point, to just drop a tape. Back in 2017, they were still in their SoundCloud stage, at least a little, but now they're bona fide superstars, which is also why 1629 is so legendary. Unfortunately for fans, they're still fiending for this album, coming up with all sorts of theories, writing fan fiction in Reddit comment sections, and theorizing when it will drop in online music forums. So clearly, there was a lot of hope from Uzi and Cardi fans. There is a lot of hope still from Uzi and Cardi fans, and it seems like they're just constantly gonna keep getting disappointed. But I guess it wasn't about the album. It was about the friends we made along the way.